Bad moonshine on, stretching across your path. Bad moonshine on, stretching across your path. Every time you get some good news, ooh, there's a shadow on your back. Saw a retard baller way down in San Bernardino. Said I saw a retard baller way down in San Bernardino. He slapped 5 G's on the table. Said, keep me away from my tomb. No, no. Hard, got 13 months of bad luck, bound to be some pain. Don't you do no traveling, flying no machines, tombstone shot on, stretching across your path. Every time you get some good news, ooh, there's a shadow on your back. Sold the hard luck charm, cost 8,000 more. So puts them on your pillow and puts them on your doll. I said take a long vacation, ooh, for 13 months or more. Bad moonshine on, stretching across your path. Bad moonshine on, stretching across your path. Every time you get some good news, ooh, there's a shadow on your back. That's some mighty funny picking and a grinning. Welcome to the show, guys. Got a great one lined up for you today. Bad moonshine on. That's right. If you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Let's see who we got in the oven for today. Is that the distinguished Nathan Oakley out there? Did I see him here?
It is. Good evening. Good to be here. Exciting stuff to talk about.
Yes, it is, sir. Is that it?
Well, you gotta say hello to everyone else as well.
Hey, I can't see everyone else. It's too small on my screen. I got to go to that screen. I see Adam in there, and I think I see Brian up top there. Brian is the head principal with his window licker Adam on this subject. How's it going, gentlemen?
Hey, Kiwi. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having us on. This is going to be good.
Nice everyone.
Kiwi. Brilliant.
Go ahead.
In the pre-show, we were being given a bit of sort of space updates from Jin, actually. So I've taken Jin off server mute, so hopefully you can stimulate the early conversation in the show in a way that isn't food or computers or anything like that. So, Jin, tell us. Over to our space correspondent, Jin.
Good afternoon and good evening, everybody listening to the Naked and Ugly show here today. Jin CBR1, just bringing you up to date with what's going on, thus proving the power of the flat Earth movement here, because the space agencies are obviously panicking. So I shall begin with the most recent news that I heard, and that was the Japanese entrepreneur, Mr. Yusaku Maezawa. I think he's age 43. He paid Elon Musk back in 2018 an undisclosed figure to use Elon Musk's Starship to travel to the moon and back. Okay, that's a 3-day journey there. I think they're going to do orbit the moon 2 times, 3 times, and then return. He's paid an undisclosed amount, we don't know. He's taking 8 other artists with him. He made that announcement the other day. He's decided who they're going to be. And amongst them, you have dancers, you have 2 photographers, you have an Indian actor, a truck builder from America, Japanese truck builder, a Japanese-American DJ. I think that covers the people that are supposed to be going. My problem is, why isn't Elon Musk going? I'm sure if I had a rocket being built, known as Starship, I would definitely want to go to the moon myself. Why wouldn't I be going? Anybody else going, not myself. Something smells fishy there. Also, NASA have said that they're not going to loan any of their astronauts to pilot the ship. So who's going to be the pilot for the Starship? That's odd. Also, that Starship doesn't have an escape capsule. So like when you have the Apollo missions or the rockets that take off from NASA, if something goes wrong, where there's a sudden explosion, the top of the capsule is ejected away for safety, so the occupants are safe, the astronauts. Elon Musk doesn't have such a thing at all. So there's no safety there. Also, no medic, one that's first aid. In fact, no one that's like professional in the sense of or Air Force or Navy. This is very, very, Joe Public, it would seem. And to look at them, look very starry-eyed and very incapable of handling that minus, what is it, 10 to the 17 tour. Wow. Because you know what happens to the human body? If you tear your suit, the suit rips, you begin to expand, you explode. So I really am worried about that. Also, also a little bit more of a tidbit there. Elon Musk hasn't been given permission to fly up his rockets. He's still got to get a permission to do that from wherever he's going to be taking off from. And also, there's a fueling problem with the Starship. It apparently has a short range in the fuel, so it's going to need stop-off points along the way. That's the end of that one. There's another one. The Japanese set off a rocket on Sunday, just gone from Florida. It's a lunar lander. They want to be the 4th country to land on the moon. United Emirates have hitched on the ride with their little rover toy thing. The Johnny come latelys, United Arab Emirates, coming in after Saudi Arabia. Okay, here we go. The only problem is it's going to take 4 months to arrive. It's usually a 3-day journey. Why is Japan taking 4 months, and why is it traveling 1 million miles? I thought the distance was 238,000 miles. 3-day journey. I don't understand. But that's all I've got for you for now, ladies and gentlemen. But, we keep on watching. Thank you.
Cool. Just one quick note, which is that outer space is fake. Because if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
Absolutely. We would all be dead, ladies and gentlemen. I agree. It's just that I've noticed how the space agencies are firing up rockets. And I put that down to flat earthers and that movement exposing the lies. And they're panicking big time.
Yeah, it's one of the very first things that I got into, because it was at the Feast of Nonsense, was the NASA fakery. and you just sort of look for anomalies in the NASA footage. And like any other flat earther, I found my anomalies that I was interested in. And the one that I was interested in was the shuttle on the launch pad with various different bits and pieces around it that you could scale it with. And it was about, by my reckoning, totally rough maths, about a 1/3 scale model that they actually send up. And presumably blow up in the sky or chuck into the sea. Because what else are they going to do with it? It definitely isn't going to a sky vacuum, because the sky isn't a vacuum. So any journey to the moon or Mars or wherever they sent Starman or whatever the guy in the Tesla car was supposed to be, but it was behind the CGI all Earth. Yeah, none of those places are real. Gonna pop yourself on local mute, Jin, just so you're not causing feedback.
My mistake there. Thank you.
Just to comment on that. That's interesting. You mentioned the Tesla car, which was everybody knew about it. You know what I mean? But Jin is kind of giving that. He's the man in Japan. You know what I mean? He's giving that perspective over there, and it's interesting that space is being punted like that with such I assume high-profile people to take on that journey to reaffirm that space is real. Interesting it's not being put over here, and Elon's not even, he's probably been, hasn't he, Jim, you know what I mean? But interesting that I've not heard anything about that's what's being directed over there to reaffirm this belief.
It's because it's second
but
from you guys over in the Far East. What you get is garbage. What the Americans did, as much as we want to knock them, and Billy Gill would agree with me in this regard, NASA are on the cutting edge of cinematography. And cinematography, just the production of the material, was held in very high regard back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s by NASA. And they never overplayed their hand. They played their cards very close to the chest. And what they were reproducing was of a very, very high standard. Just extremely good magic tricks. And further to that, they, as a people, the Americans that is, know how to market their videography. They know how to sell you a movie. They know how to spend half the budget of the movie on marketing alone with, a modern movie. And NASA are no different. They know how to position the movies of the time to lend weight and credibility to the underplayed, cards close to the chest NASA material. So while you're seeing Gravity in cinemas, you're also seeing a very downplayed, down-key version from the ISS when they do their little interviews or do their little magic tricks. They're doing the low-key version of the same thing. That is a very well-orchestrated plan to brainwash the general public of the Western world into belief in space. That well-orchestrated, well-oiled machine means that, at the time at least, it doesn't necessarily stack up when you go back and look at NASA footage from old, from moon landing times. It really looks bad because they're matching the cinematography of the time. They're competing with 2001 and films of that ilk when they brainwash you with the same thing that you've already seen, already suspended disbelief with Kubrick and other examples. Therefore, it's easily digested by the person that takes it on. Now, by comparison, China don't do any of that. Japan don't do any of that. JAXA aren't doing this. They just produce their shitty material and stick it out there. Now, to the unprepared, to the unpreconditioned Westerner, it doesn't work. The magic trick fails on its arse immediately. I like to show my family the stuff from the East, because it snaps them out of it real quick when they go, "Oh, that's just garbage. Obviously, that's not real." But that's just China faking it, is the kind of responses I get. Obviously, it's because they can't afford to go to the moon, so they have to fake it. It's like, yeah, but to you, this is obvious fakery. I'm sure to the Chinese people, they've done a certain amount of propagandizing before they put it out there. So I'm sure it would be a little bit more effective, and they'd probably gauge their own people in terms of how to bullshit them. But it's probably a lot more effective for them than it is for us seeing it on the sidelines. Hence, we just don't get to see it. We haven't been conditioned to see it. We need to be well and truly softened up for this sort of stuff before we see it. Because we haven't, we don't get it. It's just that simple. Yes, Nathan, we all agree. Such a great point you're making. I agree. I think so too. That's why I babbled on so long.
Well, just before I go on, I just want to say that was an epic song. QE. I didn't hear it before. That's very, very good. Really, really enjoyed that.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, someone needed it because you got a lot of stick in the comments about it. There was a few people that were saying you could have done better, or that's not the best song I ever heard, that kind of stuff. Well, I think it was epic.
Who the hell said that?
There was a few sarcastic comments about the song. Someone said, "What song? You didn't hear the song?"
No, they were too busy gossiping, Brian.
Yeah, you missed the greatest song ever. My God.
Has QE got a new intro?
Oh, it has a special song for this exact presentation. A whole song with visuals.
Play it again.
Presentation.
Play it again.
Awesome. Does it give the game away about what the audience? Because some of the people who've watched FED last night will have had the game given away, because we talked about it in an after show 2 days ago, which obviously went out on my second channel last night. So while it was coming, I was like, I preempted the audience basically. I was in the chat listening to my own show as I do. I was like, pay attention. This is what we'll be talking about on BALLBUSTERS. This is going to inevitably turn into a housekeeping question once the information's been disseminated and it gets, phrased over the next month or so. But this is a big deal. It's like Black Swan or elevation angles. This is, your gas pressure without a container moment.
I rocked that song, man. You didn't even listen to it.
No, I'm sorry. Who's causing feedback? Adam.
I only wanted to put in to just demonstrate my disdain that you guys hadn't listened to this.
We'll have
a listen.
That's all right. I'll play it before we go.
All I would say is I was looking at the figures, and there was only like 10 or 20 people in when it played. So I say do it again now. Do it!
No. Leave it to be special. Leave it on the intro. Don't be that guy. I like my intro so much. I'm going to play it for you again so you can enjoy the intro twice. No,
you've heard it. It's not the new intro. It's not a new intro. It's QE rocking. QE singing.
I'm the guy. Why is there only 20 people? Why is there only 20 people? I'm getting a little tired of this. There should be thousands tuning in. What the hell is going on?
He talks about this
the other day. 55 for me.
Underground. We're underground. Neil thinks there should be 5,000 people watching. Yeah, you're right. Something so paradigm changing for a mass of people as big as the deceived should be waking them all up all at once. Well, the powers that should not be don't want that, Neil. So we're underground. That's just how it is. But the people who do find us really appreciate us.
I think it's because QE singing and the lyrics were just, to be honest, paradigm shifting. That's why they've had to probably just dampen it down, QE.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what it was. It was paradigm. I kicked the pants off that song, man.
In today's show, we're gonna have. Is it Brian that's actually making the presentation?
It's Brian. It's me. I'm gonna lead off, and then it's Brian, and then Adam, and then Brian to finish it up because it's Brian's baby.
Thank you.
Once upon a time, in a heliocentric world, there was this notion that shadows produced by the sun would necessitate a far away, very large sun in order to explain these shadows. And those shadows get used for things like sundials. Now, a very big, very far away sun for its shadows that it casts here on the claimed to be spherical surface of a sphere Earth in a vacuum is going to be turned on its head, annihilated, ripped to shreds, and debunked here by the gentlemen on this panel, gentlemen on this panel. So buckle up. As I said earlier, this is one of those gas pressure without a container, elevation angle argument moments that you know, put a note in your calendar. remember the date, and yeah, you're gonna enjoy this if you're an audience member. Now, I'm going to take no part in it because it's nothing to do with me. But like with most things, I need to hear them several times before I can digest them in a way that means I can regurgitate them as an argument. In other words, be able to combat somebody's rebuttals to it on the spot. So hopefully it'll be concise enough for it to immediately resonate with both me in terms of how I can develop this moving forward, and for you as an audience. In other words, you at the very least get it straight away. Given that it's been discussed 2 or 3 times, one of which was on my show a couple of days ago on Flat Earth Debate. I think it was 1789 show that it was discussed on. In any event, it's not that important. The important thing is that this has been discussed. It's been discussed to the point where it's already getting to live shows and after shows and such. It's already, to a certain degree, refined. And obviously, you know, QE being on board and being able to concisely paraphrase the main part of the argument. I've already heard him do this, by the way, before he started recording, so I know what's to come from QE because he did it while I was off mic. I heard you summarise it in the way I hoped you would, QE. And it was the same way that you summarised it on my show when you got to the point where you're like, will it work like this? It will. Run with it. Run with it. Yeah, it's game over. So hopefully it'll be QE that actually starts us off. But I'm hoping to get the ball rolling by that massive segue. I hope that wasn't, you know, in any way subtle. So,
Yeah.
QE,
Yes, it was very subtle.
Lead the way. Not at all. Lead the way, though, if you're going to. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it was very subtle. Like I said, this is Brian's baby. A little and some assistance by Adam. We couldn't have got there, but it was a quick one because it's so like, well, duh. As soon as I heard it, there was some questions I had with it, but one statement that was made, and I didn't find it out. I asked, right? So one statement, that's all it took for me to say, okay, that's it. It's over because there's no way of getting out of this. Now, I'm not going to take that thunder because that just convinced me. And everyone's heard it before on Nathan's show and stuff. That's fine. Maybe later on in the show I'll say it, but it's going to be said. It's going to be stressed. But what I want to start out with is, how did this mess get started? Right? We know about Eratosthenes, right? I never heard of Eratosthenes in school. Me. That could be different for other people. I didn't. It was well after university, well after in my adult years, that I even heard of this mug. And in fact, I heard about Eratosthenes from another source. I was researching something else. And it turned out that Eratosthenes came up and he was arguing with, I think it was Egyptians or something, and Newton. Now, he wasn't arguing with Newton, you know, contemporarily, obviously. But they were bringing up aspects of, okay, who started this mess? Who was the first civilization, right? That's where its roots came from. But I don't want to go down that road. I'm just saying that mostly everybody knows this clown, especially the boomers, from Carl Sagan, right? And it was a long time that after university, that I even seen this. I think it was on TV. I didn't pay it much mind. I could care less. But that's what we're going to start with because he's the king of the cuck clowns that got this mess rolling. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk, we're going to let Carl Sagan discuss his take on matters. And then we're going to get his redheaded stepchild in here, Neil Smoking DeGrasse Tyson, to finish things off. And then we'll ship it over to Brian right after that. So you guys ready? Mic discipline, please, while I get copyright strike. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Let me make sure the sound's squared away. Sorry about that, guys. It was a little muffled when I was listening to him before. Let me turn him up a little bit. Here we go.
There was once a time when our little planet seemed immense, when it was the only world we could explore. Its true size was first worked out in a simple
only world we can explore. Mike, discipline, Neil.
and ingenious way by a man who lived here in Egypt in the 3rd century BC.
3rd century BC. I'd like some primary documentation with that.
This tower
What the hell is that?
may have been a communications tower.
A communications tower. I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't a fashions tower, I'll tell you that much.
Part of a network running along the North African coast.
You pumpkin pie haircutting turtlenecking freak. What the hell are you talking about?
By which signal bonfires were used to communicate messages of state.
Signal bonfires communicating messages of steak. What the heck? Did you watch Lord of the Rings? You pumpkin pie haircut fruitcake. What the hell is this guy talking about? And steak, what about Wengies? Why couldn't they burst up some bonfires over Wengies?
It also may have been used as a lighthouse.
It also may have been used as a curtain rod. This guy is such a storyteller. He sounds like Walter Cronkite, doesn't he?
Navigational beacon for sailing ships.
Navigational beacon? What the heck what do you mean navigational beacon? Why didn't they just cruise along the shore? I mean, not up along the shore, but within eyesight. Wouldn't be that hard. Ain't no navigational beacons. They traveling at night, too. Right there, Carl.
Out there in the Mediterranean Sea. It is about 50 kilometers west of what was once one of the great cities of the world, Alexandria.
Oh, Alexandria. That's the magic word, right? I've noticed as soon as people say Alexandria from back in the day, everyone, it gets their attention, right? So that was an attention getter, right? And you see the little switch, the way he turned and shit. This is choreographed, man. You pumpkin pie haircut and freak.
In Alexandria at that time, there lived a man named Eratosthenes.
We're going to need some primary documentation for that.
One of his envious contemporaries called him Beta, the second letter of the Greek alphabet.
Beta? He's definitely a gamma. I call him a Zulu.
But because he said Eratosthenes was second best in the world in everything.
What the hell kind of claim is that? Eratosthenes was the second best in the world at everything. Well, how the hell did he know that? And what do you mean? It's such a vague, baseless horseshit, right? What do you mean he was second best in, like, cutting his toenails, putting on his robe, cutting his back hair? What the hell do you mean? Look at this clown.
But it seems clear that in many fields, Eratosthenes was alpha.
Alpha? You mean Zulu?
He was an astronomer, historian, geographer, philosopher, poet, theater critic.
Holy shit! What? Yeah, sure. And Gomer Pyle's sister was a Saudi prince, a Mau Mau fighter pilot, and Sasquatch.
And mathematician. He was also the chief librarian of the great Library of Alexandria.
Chief librarian, huh? Did he spark that fire? I'll bet you he sparked it up and it smoldered for about a century or so and then ignited spontaneously.
And one day, while reading a papyrus book in the library,
how the hell does he know that Eratosthenes was reading a papyrus book? I like that word, by the way, papyrus. Papyrus book in a library. How the hell does he know that? We're going to need some support for that there, Carl.
Came upon a curious account.
Ooh. Listen to the music in the background. Ooh. Oh, mother, should I build a wall?
Far to the south, he read, at the frontier outpost of Syene, something notable could be seen on the longest day of the year. On June 21st, the shadows of a temple column or a vertical stick would grow.
Well, which one was it? A temple column or a vertical stick? You figured you'd get that little detail right. It was neither, folks.
Shorter as noon approached. And as the hours crept towards midday, the sun's rays would slither down the sides of a deep...
Oh, they're slithering down the side. Now we got a well. Now I can. That's the actual story. It's a well. There's no sticks. I don't know where you got the sticks from. Right? It's a well in Syene.
deep well, which on other days would remain in shadow.
What the hell's going on here? The priestesses coming to the well.
And then, precisely at noon, columns would cast no shadows, and the sun would shine directly down into the water of the well.
The water, the well, that looks like a cesspool, brother. I ain't tossing anything in there. Maybe tossing Eratosthenes.
At that moment, the sun was exactly
At that moment, you're going to get dysentery. That's what you're going to get. You ain't going to get any sun in there. What's up?
overhead.
So what he said was, sorry, it was directly overhead. It was shining directly in the well. Well, where's the sticks and the columns at? Was it a well, sticks, or columns? Which one? Remember, this is at Syene.
It was an observation that someone else might easily have ignored. Sticks, shadows,
Where is he getting sticks? See, that's where these ignorant baltards got their sticks and shadows, man. This is exactly where they got it from. He's just making shit up. He can't even get a story straight.
reflections in wells, the position of the sun, simple, everyday matters of what possible importance might they be.
I'm sure you'll dream one up.
But Eratosthenes was a scientist.
Yeah. He just exposed himself as a numpty dipshit, right? Pseudoscientist. Eratosthenes, number one, we don't even know if he existed. Number two, he definitely was no scientist. You thinking he was a scientist, you just exposed yourself, sunshine. You pumpkin pie haircutted friggin' red turtleneck wearing.
And his contemplation of these homely matters changed the world, in a way.
How in the hell did he know what Eratosthenes was contemplating? What is he, necromancer or something? Little redneck friggin' necromancer?
Made the world. Because Eratosthenes had the presence of mind to experiment, to actually...
Ain't no damn experiment here, sunshine. Not even close. We want to hear the hypothesis, right? Yeah, you ain't gonna hear any of that, folks, because this ain't an experiment. This is a just so story told by numpty dipshits.
ask whether, back here, near Alexandria, a stick cast...
There wasn't a stick. It was a land penis there in Alexandria. Where are these guys getting these sticks from? Everyone just mindlessly parrots. I've been stopping them for years, right? Every time, even though you can club to death Eratosthenes well before what we're gonna get to. But anyway, I was clubbing because they'd come out with sticks. I'm sitting there, where are you getting your sticks from, dude? It was a land dick.
a shadow near noon on June the 21st. And it turns out, sticks do.
Sticks do. Dicks do. What a numpty, man. Doesn't he sound like Walter Cronkite? Am I saying that right? Walter Cronkite. Walter whatever you know. Sticks do.
An overly skeptical person might have said that the report from Syene was in error. But
what report? Do they have like communication lines? Oh yeah, the signal fires. Remember the Lord of the Rings signal fires? They signal fired all the way down to Cyrene. Took them 18 years.
An absolutely straightforward observation. Why would anyone lie on such a trivial matter?
Why would they lie about a trivial matter? Well, because they got an agenda, and they can easily fool your dumb ass. That's why.
Eratosthenes asked himself how it could be.
How the hell? I'm sorry I keep interrupting. This is some horseshit. How does he know what Eratosthenes asked himself? It's just stupid shit. He's just making shit up.
That at the same moment, a stick in Syene would cast no shadow, and a stick in Alexandria...
There wasn't a stick in Syene, you numpty dipshit. It was a well. What? That's what I'm talking about, folks. This is just nonsense, man. He's just going to make sure. Uh-oh. He's got a model.
800 kilometers to the north,
How did he know that was up here, by the way? Was that staged?
would cast a very definite shadow.
Here's Eratosthenes' scientific model.
Here's a map of ancient Egypt. I've inserted two
What? You inserted 2 sticks again. There weren't any sticks. It was a well. You crayon crunching clown.
sticks or
Unbelievable.
obelisks. One up here in Alexandria.
Yeah, land dicks. Just one in Alexandria. The other one was a well in Syene.
And one down here in Syene.
Oh, brother.
Now, if at a certain moment each stick casts no shadow,
Wait, it's no shadow. I'm seeing shadows here, Walter. So what the hell are you talking about? Unbelievable.
shadow at all, that's perfectly easy to understand, provided the Earth is flat.
Ooh, okay. So this is going against the flat Earth, huh? I'm still seeing shadows. You pumpkin pie haircut freak.
If the shadow at Syene is at a certain length, and the shadow at Alexandria is the same length, that also makes sense on a flat Earth.
Yeah, 'cause it's flat.
But how could it be,
How could it be? Billions and billions and billions.
Eratosthenes asked, that at the same instant there was no shadow at Syene,
I'm seeing a shadow there, sunshine.
and a very substantial shadow at Alexandria?
Interesting. Let's take a look at this. Looks like we got sticks down here. We also have a curved surface up top. Shout out to Memus at 24/7. He put this together like years and years ago. And we have a flat, level surface down here with the same sticks and a light source. I don't know, but those shadows look like they're measuring the exact same. That's what it looks like to me. So you got big problems there, sunshine.
The only answer was that the surface of the Earth is curved.
Yeah, sure. Yes, and Anna Nicole married for love, and Pol Pot was her florist. How'd you come up with that conclusion there, numpty dipshit?
Not only that,
Uh-oh, there's one more.
but the greater the curvature, the bigger the difference.
Really? So you're going to provide evidence for that? Or are you just going to use your model here?
Lengths of the shadows. The sun is so far away that
Uh-oh, did you hear that? His major premise for this little fiasco is the sun is so far away. What?
its rays are parallel when they reach the Earth.
The rays are parallel when they reach the Earth. That shall be your undoing, sunshine. That's what this whole Ballbusters episode is getting ready to friggin' jackyard, sunshine.
Sticks at different angles
He's still on his sticks, too.
to the sun's rays will cast shadows at different lengths. For the observed difference in the shadow lengths, the distance between Alexandria and Syene,
The distance, yeah. How did he know that? This is just an ancillary point, folks, because it's all over. You're going to see it here in a few minutes. But how did Eratosthenes know the distance between these two places?
had to be about 7 degrees along the surface of the Earth.
7 degrees is not a distance, sunshine.
By that I mean, if you imagine these sticks extend
Look at this clown, man. Now, you have to admit, that's pretty friggin' creepy right there. You pumpkin pie haircutting redneck turtle freak.
all the way down to the center of the Earth.
All the way down to the center of the earth? Where's the center of your earth here? The hell are you talking about?
They would there intersect at an angle of about 7 degrees.
Well, show that shit. It's intersecting at your knees. Eratosthenes.
Well, 7 degrees is something like a 50th of the full circumference of the Earth, 360 degrees.
Yeah?
Eratosthenes knew the distance between
Oh, really? How did he know that?
Alexandria and Syene. He knew it was 800 kilometers. Why? because he hired a man to pace out the entire distance so that he could perform the calculation.
Burn, 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 burn. That's some bullshit right there. That's a bullshit meter just freaking imploded. And he's hired to bet somebody, he paced it. Let me tell you something. In the military, right, for navigation, we had pace count courses, right? You had to do them initially because it's part of navigation, ironically. Let me tell you something, right? That Mark got 100 meters, and I must have did that course, I don't know, 25, 30 times, and get the wrong. It would never come out the same, right? Because it would depend on the terrain. That is, if you're going uphill, downhill, level, any combinations thereof. Let me tell you something, sunshines. At 100 meters, it was just an average, right? You just said, yeah, roughly this. Let me tell you something. After one or two clicks, you better hurry up and back check that little pace count, because it's going to be way off for, like I said, multiple reasons. I mean, it's a joke. 1 to 2 clicks. That's 1 to 2 kilometers. This clown's starting to say this guy did 800 kilometers. Pace count. Yeah, sure, dude. I'd say there's a better chance of Liberace being resurrected sporting a purple tutu and jumping on a chartreuse-hobbled unicorn and riding around the Sombrero Galaxy. There's a better chance of that there, sunshine. This is some horse shit.
I'm talking about. Now, 800 kilometers times 50 is 40,000 kilometers. So
yeah, 500-mile pace count.
that must be the circumference of the Earth. That's how far it is to go once around the Earth.
Sure it is.
That's the right answer.
That's the right answer. All this short horseshit that led up to this was all wrong. He's still on sticks, for fuck's sake.
Eratosthenes' only tools were sticks, eyes, feet, and brains. Plus a zest for experiment.
A zest for experiment. So this dude, so land dicks, blinders, sheep, and change, and chains, and a zest for a new twist on animal husbandry. You freaking bozo, dude. And by the way, I like that word zest. I'm going to start to incorporate that in my vocabulary. Zest and vexed. I am sorely vexed by your zest.
With those tools, he correctly deduced the circumference of the Earth to...
Yeah, sure, sunshine. And Aphrodite was actually Elmer Fudd and Dragon, was directly responsible for the Tet Offensive.
high precision, with an error of only a few percent.
Yeah, Eratosthenes, just a few 100%.
That's pretty good figuring for 2,200 years ago.
2,200 years ago, like that had any relevance. Well, that's enough of that, Crayon Muncher. So now you guys know where he got the sticks, right? And remember the main point where he said, because of the angles of the shadows and his numpty sticks, right? The reason why is because you had a distant large sun. See, that's why we're here today. We're going to take care of that. So let's go to his redheaded stepchild. Remember, this not Neil smoking deGrasse Tyson. This guy looks like he just seen a white werewolf. Let's see what Neil's his take on this is. Let's see if he goes to those sticks.
So now if the Earth is round, how big is Earth? Mm-hmm. You might want to check for that.
If the Earth is round, well, number one, round and flat aren't mutually exclusive. Yeah, round and flat pizzas, round and flat LPs. You need to start getting more precise in your language there, Clown Show. Right? You'd have to know that to ask the next question to yourself. Well, how round is it?
There was a famous experiment conducted by
There was no damn experiment from Eratosthenes. We want the hypothesis. There's no experiment here, folks. This is as far away from science as you can get. This is as far away from geometry as you can get, as a matter of fact.
Eratosthenes.
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 And the two cities in the old world.
Let's see if he gets this right.
And one of them, they knew that at
You see him draw that out. They knew that. Yeah, he's stalling so he can make shit up. That's a tell.
12 noon on a particular day of the year, that the sun was directly overhead and you could see the bottom of a well.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least he got that right. So +1 for smoking deGrasse.
You don't run around looking at the bottoms of wells.
No.
Because the light does.
I've looked at bottoms of wells before. What the hell is he talking about? He's a city dweller. An alley creeper.
It's just, no.
Doesn't get down there.
Yes, it does. It depends on the water level, too. You freaking bozos.
Down there.
How can we use this observation to see if Earth's surface is curved? We needed another well. Turns out we can't see the bottom of both wells at the same time.
Okay, so you got 2 wells now. Why don't you just keep on with the story? It's either sticks or 2 wells. They can't get it right.
What might explain this? Well, there are 2 possible explanations. First, we could have a flat Earth with the sun that's small and close by.
Well, there you go. That's it. Yeah, there you go. Yep, and?
That the light hits the second well at an angle. Or second, we could have a curved Earth with a sun that's big and far away, so that all the light comes in parallel. But only
there it is again, folks. You see that parallel? That's what's going to be taken to the woodshed here in a few minutes. However, this is what Eratosthenes did. Now, he didn't have 2 wells. Everyone knows there was a well and a land dick, right? Everyone that's looked into this knows this.
only one well at a time is lit all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
Turns out with just 2 wells, there's enough wiggle room for
There's just 2 wells again. There weren't 2 wells. I don't know, dude. It must be on some type of shroom. I think they hear the story from the people before them, and they misconstrue what they say, and they just make shit up. And then other people after that heard what their numpty story was, and they just, right? Now it's just sticks and 2 wells. I'm sorry.
Both explanations to fit our observations.
Okay. Okay, both explanations, they're not explanations, by the way, fit the observation. So Eratosthenes was a toss-up. In other words, he just admitted it. Because Eratosthenes didn't use 3. He only had 2. He only had the well, and they pace counted up to the land penis for 500 miles. So that's it. It's all over right there. He just admitted it.
And these only had 2 wells.
Exactly.
But what if he had added a third?
But what if? Well, what if my uncle had balls? Should be my aunt. It's the other way around. But anyway, Eratosthenes didn't have 3. So why are we even talking about this? That's my question. Because you're going outside the boundaries of the story, even though you fucked everything up in the story. So he didn't have 3. So this is an Eratosthenes proof. Have you done it, Neil?
With a third well, it doesn't matter where the sun is. No flat Earth model can explain the angle.
Oh, really? Number 1, there is no flat Earth model. There is no sphere Earth model. Number 2, models don't explain shit. And number 3, just because you put an X over here, that doesn't, what do you mean? It's just automatically, by just virtue of you putting the X here, that just destroys this one, right? Why don't you explain it? Remember this, Neil. Neil, do you see this? You see this one? So this is a curved surface. See, curving, and this is a flat surface. The shadows are exactly the same, and we got 3 sticks. There, sunshine. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Let's get with the explanation.
Angles of all 3 shadows. But the spherical model explains it all 3 angles with ease.
Okay. All 3 angles with ease. Okay. Get ready for the explanation.
And to do this experiment, you got to measure the angles.
There was no experiment here, and you're not getting in with the explanation. You just compromise yourself by calling it an experiment. You did that earlier, too. This has nothing to do with natural science. Ping pong has more relevance to experiment than this shit.
Greeks had the angles.
Yeah.
Okay, in fact, geometry
Geometry.
translates to Earth measurement. So one
Oh, Bev, that's your ass. Neil smoking deGrasse Tyson just took you to the woodshed. Sorry for the digression.
last thing, which should be obvious.
Let's get to the explanations. Remember, these models explain it with ease. Okay, we're ready.
Okay. If you pay attention and think about it. If you send a ship straight to the horizon,
right?
Eventually.
Wait a second. Where you got Captain Jack here with the Black Pearl? Where's your damn explanations of those angles that were easy? Huh? What the hell's going on here? Clown.
Begins to disappear until it's no longer visible beyond your horizon.
Where's the sticks? Where's the well in this?
Right. And you should ask yourself, what?
We're asking ourselves, why are we even watching this shit? You guys are contradicting yourselves with every other breath. You're making claims, baseless ones. That's fallacy, sunshine. You're village idiots, right? You tell a good story, but there's inconsistencies everywhere.
Kind of surface would produce that result?
What kind of surface would? What about the surface? What other horseshit are you assuming?
The ocean,
if it's con,
the ocean has a ramp.
If it's con, you're a con. Ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't explain with ease his little bullshit here before. So this is all a con, right? So now I've given you the background, right? And you guys already knew what the background was. I just wanted to place it in here for posterity's sake and make sure everyone's clear. We had Sagan, and now we got his redheaded stepchild, Neil smoking deGrasse Tyson. So we've established the foundation of what's going to implode here in a few minutes. So let me give some short slack here because the timing of this is a little bit off. So we'll wait a second, and I'll hit up Discord here in a moment. Brian, Adam.
Hello.
I got you. All right. Do you guys want to add anything to the numpty dipshits right here, or it's up to you?
I will if Adam doesn't mind me going ahead of him if he has anything to say. Yeah, a couple of things I'd like to point out about that Neil deGrasse Tyson nonsense there. Number one, of course, he didn't have 3 wells. There was 1 well and an obelisk that he took the angle measurement of the shadow of. But secondly, the 3 wells thing, I remember Dave Murphy pointing out a couple of years ago in a presentation he did for a high school in Britain. He pointed out to everyone there, all the young people, that the 3rd well that Tyson added to the globe doesn't meet at the center. He pointed out that if you bring a line with that 3rd well, it didn't meet at the center of the globe for whatever reason. I can't remember how he worked it, but he showed how a direct line of that doesn't meet at the center. So even though there was no 3 wells in the original Eratosthenes claim demonstration, even at that, when he added this 3rd well, even though there was only 1, it still didn't meet at the center of a globe. And that's something that Dave Murphy pointed out. So that was fraudulent. But the 3rd thing I would point out was that when he went away from explaining what he was supposed to be explaining and started talking about the horizon being a geometric location, he showed a boat changing in angular size as it moved away. That's not part of globe mathematics. There is no angular size change in globe mathematics. Yep. There is no perspective. Yep. It's all orthographic.
Yep.
Thank you.
100% agree. Like I said, he just immediately went to the next subject with Captain Jack, Captain Jack Sparrow and the Black Pearl after he said he was going to, explain. It explains it with ease, is what he said. Something to that effect. Well, he didn't do it. He just put a red X over it, right? What the hell is that, dude? So let's talk about something else.
that was my thoughts there. It's just, we've been watching Neil this week, and that was another one of his little show and tells, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And make it a very bold claim. And the second it comes to back that claim up, we go to, as you say, Captain Jack, to ships over the horizon, which has absolutely nothing to do with it. So, very telling that the substantiation, the main point of their claim in terms of the difference wasn't demonstrated to me. And I've looked this up. You can see there's all places all over America you can perform this same 2-point measurement, particularly through America, but they've not thrown the 3 in, and I wonder why. What I did like the picture you shared twice, very telling, with the flat and curved surface. So, yeah, just.
I'm sorry, Adam. I was on mute. You mean the one from Mimas from 24/7? I put it back up there for you.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Well, I suppose we're going to get into more of the fundamentals of their claim, and I'll let Brian do it. But I think for me, that's really good. Laid out by the big priest himself, Carl Sagan. And like I say, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned you'd never heard of it. It wasn't a big thing back in my day. But yeah, I think we're all aware of it. And it is, if you speak to normies, it is fundamentals to their belief. They'll cite Eratosthenes. So yeah, nicely outlaid their claim, what I'd say. Beautifully done there.
Yeah, and the foundation of their claim, the whole claim, because everyone knows it's horseshit anyway, because it's got so many inconsistencies. However, the big one that we're focused on here today is the parallel light rays, and the reason we have parallel light rays is that the sun is far away and really, really big, right? That's what's about to get attacked. Right? And you'll remember this, folks. I'll tell you that. So, Brian.
I will add at this point that in typical Ballbusters style, we've managed to bury the headline an hour into the show. So if you're one of those good people that could just comment by putting 1:00:00, so that people can click on this bit when we now queue up Brian, we'll hopefully start with the most consistent summary. Because what we've done up until now for the last hour, other than the bit at the beginning with Jim when we were talking about the spacey stuff, the sort of modern equivalent of this sort of argument for how we've got all Earth in a sky vacuum. This is all well known, right? So this is one of the very first things I saw. Actually, your diagram has been topped back in 2014, 15 by Math Powerland, doing it live in front of an audience with lamps. You know, and literally moving it on a curve and then doing it on the flat stage.
I didn't see that.
Showing the exact same thing. So Math Powerland did this back in 2015. So in other words, just so the audience aren't like, this all sounds very familiar. Yeah, it's because it was one of the first arguments you probably heard from an anti-flat earther when you got here. Yeah? But ages ago. Now, obviously, we haven't really discussed this other than the fact that a lot of the claim is coming with an elevation angle. Therefore, it's going to need a flat plane to measure the angle for the assertion that Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't get into.
Exactly.
I noticed that in the chat too, QE. It's like, why aren't you explaining it? You know, I like the way he's got the angles going down the well. I thought he was going to go somewhere clever with it, and then he didn't go anywhere with it.
He went to Captain Jack.
Other than, yeah, he went to the boats over the horizon, which we've debunked with the Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance that horizon he showed would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. The Black Swan shows it's beyond that. So the boats over the horizon wasn't a good segue because we can debunk it in one breath. But it wasn't anything to do with the well/stick. And I can't remember seeing that Carl Sagan video when I was growing up. I mean, it's 70s rather than 80s, so it's a bit before my time. Nevertheless, I was listening along, admittedly, with you saying it twice and then saying it again in the ear of the iPad I was watching it on. But what stick? What are you talking about? You sat almost falling in the well talking about stick. What? Anyway, so the point of me doing this segue is that we've buried the headline an hour into the show, and hopefully Brian's going to now pick up and start with the most concise description of how this aspect of what he's about to explain actually debunks the claim that we've laboured so much in regards to a big sun being far away with almost parallel lines coming to the Earth, these shadows. Anyway, right, Brian, are you ready to summarise this timestamp can be put on in the comments after the fact?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something with yourself. Are you saying that Matt Powerland made the same argument I'm about to make? Because I didn't
Au
hear him ever
contraire.
make.
No. What we have talked about in terms of, well, these shadows, it makes no difference. It would work exactly the same on a flat Earth, right? That was 2015 standards, to the point where some of the originators of the people who were disseminating this argument on YouTube, or in the case of Matt Powerland, out on the comedy circuit in front of a live audience. He's already been there, done that, bought the T-shirt with the easy to grab example. I'm not demeaning it, by the way, whoever that was that QE showed during the presentation.
Yeah, that was Mimas.
Great.
Mimas.
But it's just old news, and I'm not demeaning it for that. I'm just saying that we're familiarizing people with the 2015 arguments that have been used and overcome with, well, look, it works the same on both. Now we're going to take it to the next level, and even beyond the fact that this claim requires angles that would only be acquirable from a flat Earth. It's even beyond that, and that's where I'm sort of building up to what you're going to do now, Brian, which isn't to say Matt Powerland got there first. Not at all.
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't ripping him off, because I don't mind. It wouldn't stop me from doing it, but I didn't want to take credit for something if someone had already done it before.
No, he didn't.
I just didn't want to do that.
No.
Nope. Not even close.
Okay, thank you. So I'm ready whenever you are, QE. If you want to put up the first slide.
I'm way ahead of you, brother.
Thank you. So am I okay to start?
Yep.
Okay. I'd stay off mute, and what I'll do, QE, is I'll say to you, because there's a bit of a small lag, I'll ask you to put up the next
Yep. We're good.
diagram, and we can confirm between the two of us.
Yep.
Okay.
We're already on Bad Moon Shadow.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Welcome everyone to this presentation. QE has already gotten the ball rolling with a fantastic song and the displaying of the actual claim from heliocentrism. And you can't get more heliocentrism than Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson. 2 points of order, just for the sake of this presentation, that I'm going to hit on before we get started. And QE has already touched on this already, so some of it is kind of not really as necessary, but I'm going to say it anyway. Number one, for the purpose of the presentation, I'm going to speak about Eratosthenes as if he actually existed and he did what was said that he did, because I'm not going to go into whether he existed or not, or that argument within this. Just going to go along with the mainstream claim, regardless of he doesn't have to have ever existed or not for the claim to still be the same heliocentric claim. So I'm not going to mince around with that for the sake of the presentation. I'm just going to go along with what they claim, right, rather than arguing against it. Second point is that we all know, because I'm sure this will be pointed out, that Eratosthenes used an elevation angle, which meant that he needed to have a horizontal baseline between Alexandria and Cyan of 500 miles. Now, we know that, and everyone is aware of that. And even though people might make that argument, it's not necessary to make. The real argument is that not that he required a horizontal baseline there to have a horizontal baseline to do what he's claimed to have done. The real point is that why did they have to go to the shadows? That's the real point. By 2 reasons. One is because they needed to within their story, they needed to divert away from the elevation angle because that disproved their claim, and 2, because they needed to explain the shadows we see in reality and how they would work on a globe Earth. That's what they needed to do. So that's why we're going to focus on the shadows and not the elevation angle. The elevation angle absolutely is another argument, and that is a complete debunking of the model. But this is about the parallel light rays that are claimed to come from a heliocentric sun. Okay, that's everything there. So QE, if you wouldn't mind moving on to my first diagram, or the next one, let's just say, and let me know when you have it up.
It's up.
Thank you. Okay, this diagram is very simplistic. I'm just showing some vectors from a central point of a globe, and all the lines are all parallel sun rays. And as you can see, if you go on to my next one, QE, I just wanted that briefly. And let me know when it's up.
Good.
Thank you. As you can see, the green and the purple and the other green and blue vectors, they all have matching shadows. And the whole point of Eratosthenes having to claim that the sun was really big and far away was because he needed to match the shadows we see in reality on a globe Earth. So he needed to make the sun really big, right, to give him the parallel light rays, but then he needed to place it. He needed to place it at the correct distance for that size sun to be away from the globe Earth, for it to match the angular size that we see in the sky of the sun. Now, that is nonsense again, because there is no such thing as angular size within the heliocentric model. Perspective does not exist within that model. It is not part of the mathematics. But we'll look past that for the sake of the presentation. So he needed to do that. And the proof of that, if anyone wants to have a look, is look at the current size of the sun within the heliocentric model, which is 865,000 miles in diameter, and its angular size is just over 0.5 degrees, which is the average angular size of the sun we see in the sky, if you want to give it an angular size. Okay, move on to the next one, please, QE.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this shows the same thing as what was just shown in the last diagram, but over a horizontal plane, where it's shown the whale at Cyan and the obelisk at Alexandria, and it's shown an angle, shadow angle being created by a close and small sun giving divergent rays. Now, I must, at this point, I must stress something, because there's a lot of people out there, maybe on the flat Earth side, but I know definitely on the globe side, who don't understand this. In heliocentrism, all light is accepted to be divergent. The sun doesn't have parallel light rays within that model. All light is accepted to be divergent. It's just that because the heliocentric sun is so big in comparison to the globe Earth and the moon, that the globe Earth and the moon receive parallel light from the sun. And that's the thing about it. So it's not that the sun within that model has parallel light. It's that the light has not actually diverged by the time it reaches the globe Earth. That's the claim. It's still parallel because the sun itself is so huge in comparison to the globe Earth. So it's not that there is parallel light from the heliocentric sun. The light is still accepted by everybody in mainstream astronomy, everybody, and from back at the time of Eratosthenes, that the light was divergent. But if you make the sun very big, sorry?
So big and far away, both, right?
Yes, they had to place it far away to match the angular size we see, because they couldn't claim the sun was such a size and then its angular size is not matching. So they had to place it far away for them to claim it was really big. And after that, then go on, Jet.
It's a balance, because obviously, conversely as well, when you take it far away, the way in which the rays diverge dilutes the divergence even more, because the size of the arc becomes even bigger and therefore even straighter in a way, in terms of when we're talking about flattening out curvature. So they do this balance, which is proportionate, which is why the sun's got bigger and further and away over time. They can do that, and it's part of the claim initially that it's big and far away. Once you make it big and far away, you can then vary those scales. Fundamentally, that's theirs.
Yep. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, basically, the simple way to think of it is, if you're going to make it big, you have to make it far away. So it has to, whatever size you make it, it has to give parallel light to a globe Earth. The diameter of the sun, it has to be much greater than the globe Earth. And if you're going to make it bigger, then you have to make it far away to match the size, the angular size of the sun we see in our sky. Right? That's the basics of it.
Yep.
So if you move on to the next diagram, please.
You're good.
And okay, thank you. So the next diagram shows the green circle is the globe Earth. That is the size of the globe Earth per circumference. The grey circle in the center is the moon. So that is the size of the heliocentric moon with the globe out. That is the diameter and circumference size comparison between the two of them. If you would move on to the next one, please, QE.
Check.
Thank you. This here is an orange circle. If you see in the center of that orange circle, there is a tiny little green circle. That little green circle was the green circle you just saw a moment ago. That is the globe Earth. And the little black dot in the center is the heliocentric moon. The orange circle is their heliocentric sun in comparison. So this is a size comparison between the heliocentric moon, their globe Earth, and their heliocentric sun. So this is why they can claim parallel light rays, because they can make the sun that big and make, which will cause the light rays to still be parallel when it reaches the globe Earth and the heliocentric moon. So there is a comparison. So if you move on to the next one, please, QE.
Check.
Thank you. This is the same thing, but just slightly darkened for people to maybe see the green circle a little bit better. So that is the size. If you just take in the green circle and remember that the little black dot in the center is only 1/4 the size of that green circle, and then think about the size of that green circle in comparison to this orange circle, that is the comparison between the heliocentric sun, the globe Earth, and the heliocentric moon. If you go on to the next one, please, Kiwi.
Check.
And just let me know when you do.
Check.
Thank you. Okay, this here, the green circle in the center, right, is the globe Earth. The grey circle inside of that is the heliocentric moon. And the black circle is the size that Eratosthenes is claimed to have said this, the sun was. Because he said it was 27 times the diameter of the globe Earth. And this is what that would be. So the black circle would have been what the size that Eratosthenes was claiming. But Eratosthenes also would have had to make that sun closer to the globe Earth than the present claim, as it's not as big, so it would have to be closer. But it would have matched the angular size we see in the sky. So this is the Eratosthenes claim of the sun size in comparison to the globe Earth and the heliocentric moon. And just go on to the last one in this section, please, then QB, and let me know when you're there.
Check.
Thank you. Here I have the last comparison for this section, which shows the globe Earth in the center. It shows the moon in the center of that, which is the globe Earth is just a little green circle or a green dot. It shows the Eratosthenes sun, which is the black circle. That is the size of the sun. That's the size Eratosthenes is claimed to have said the sun was. And then you have the orange circle, which is the present size claim of the heliocentric sun, showing all four in comparison. The whole point of this is that the audience understand that that is the size that the heliocentric sun, if they're claiming it's 93 million miles away and it has parallel light rays, that is the size it has to be to have parallel light rays. So they needed to make the sun, whether it's in Eratosthenes' time or in present day, they need to make it way huger in diameter than the globe Earth for the light rays to come in parallel. So they also then obviously had to make it far away to match the angular size we see in the sun, in the sky. But the first point of order was to make it really big. So for the globe Earth, right, for it being possible to receive parallel light rays onto the surface of the globe Earth, the sun or whatever light source they're claiming that has parallel light rays has to be way, way huger in diameter than the globe Earth. So the moon can't have parallel light rays within the model hitting the globe Earth, because the moon is way closer, but also way too small, because it couldn't have parallel light rays because it has to be way huger to give those parallel light rays. So the whole point is that the moon and sun within the heliocentric model are both claimed to have divergent light, but the rays coming in from the sun to the globe Earth are claimed to be still parallel due to the massive size difference between this heliocentric sun and the globe Earth. Okay, that's my section. That's my first section done, QE. Thank you for helping me there.
Okay. Yep.
On to Adam.
Yep. Thank you. On to Adam. Oh, how in the world did that get in there? Okay, Adam. We're on your title slide.
Oh, before you do, there's probably a couple of super chats.
Oh, there is.
Shout, yeah.
Okay, 1 second. We'll get back to it. Let's go. James Mays, thanks, man. Support and share the show, folks. Exactly, especially this show, right? This is going to do some clown crunching. Appreciate it, James. Chris, fight the good fight. Merry Christmas, brother. Stay frosty. Flatman Can says, if you're reading this, you can smash that thumbs funky tees. Coolest t-shirts on the street. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Let me move back at him. I'll give you the thumbs up here in a second. You're golden. Title slide. Uste I Tardar.
Okay, now everyone else who may have paid attention to what Brian said up until now, right? Hopefully you're following along. This is the bit that will make the penny drop. Hopefully you've paid attention, but Adam's bit is the bit, at least for me. All right, okay, got it now. Well, what I actually said was, can you repeat it 3 more times? But anyway, go ahead, Adam.
Could you just throw in, just to not make the point clear until the very end? What I mean is that wait till the end of the 3rd section, and we'll make the point clear at that point. So leave everyone just take in this information, and then when they think back, they go, "Oh, right, now I get it."
Okay, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, it's just it's just you telling dad jokes to the chat. And I want people to be paying attention because when the punchline comes, I want people to have paid attention. Anyway, go ahead, Adam.
Is you out there telling jokes? Stop joking. We're going to get into the punchline here, folks. Pay attention now. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully, as people have got in their heads now, there's a distinguishment in terms of the claims as laid out with Andy T and Carl Sagan. If there's 3 parameters at play, and this was the point that intrigued me, because in kind of the standard model, we've got a flat plane, small and close, okay, and in the ball model, we've got very far away and very large, and it has to be much larger than the thing it's illuminating, okay? Whereas in the opposite, it has to be smaller than the thing it's illuminating. So these things, when Neil deGrasse Tyson presents those 2 paradigms, this is the crux of it. These are the 2 options, as it were. But the final parameter is that, which we assume as flat earthers isn't a parameter, which is just the nature of the shape. But this is their whole premise. If you listen to Carl Sagan, it's that 3rd parameter that blends the fact that if we're going to claim it's bigger than us and very far away, we have to have this vividness to make the shadows match to make the claim. Okay, so with that in mind, and we had a bit of feedback. First, me and Refracted were arguing over a number of different things because we realised how significant Brian's point was. And we're probably a couple of steps ahead, which Brian will get to. But that really twigged in our heads, which is some of the lovely things about the after show chats, you know, just chewing over stuff. Then I think it was some guy from the Discord was as excited as us and going, right, let's go and get data. And it was at this point that I started twigging, well, is the data? So rather than trying to get it, I thought, is there anything? Is there any evidence of it rather than anything per se in terms of just numbers? And so what you can see on screen are a number of different, excuse me, different things which are in effect sundials, but with a nuance in that they're able to be used with moonlight as well. Things called volvels, which are a kind of dial which help things, which I'll go into. But if you look on screen, the basic function of it, as you can see, is equivalent to a sundial, and they are all are also sundials. So if you go to the next slide, Kiwi, what I'm just going to briefly run through here.
Check.
And this was the point. It was me and Brian were talking, and when you can't find information, it's always intriguing. And I could not get this data anywhere, anything, and so I've managed to find this thing, and I could see it listed in lots of the sites, but always behind a paywall. And it was only when I was reading some other bits and bobs I thought I'd search under this weird title, Baroque Volvels of Germany. And then somehow this same document came up, but it's the same one that kept coming up in the searches. So there isn't a great deal, but it's from Stephen A. Lloyd of Harvard University, and it's from the NASA database. If you look, I'm not sure if it's on the slides, but it's from some strange NASA database. So if I can just read a few excerpts from this, it should just give you a description of what's going off, what's not something that I've gathered data with, but what's something that's existed in history over a long time and was used in history over time. So, excuse me. So yeah, lunar Volvels and moon dials in Baroque Germany. One of the most common criticisms of the use of sundials as timekeeping devices is their limitation to the hours of daylight. Although most entirely unknown to modern astronomers, the lunar Volvel and moon dial are devices that supplement the dial and allow one to tell the time by the light of the moon, thus greatly extending the utility of the sundial. The next slide, please, Kiwi.
Check.
The lunar Volvel converts the time as read off a sundial, given by a shadow cast by the moonlight, the local solar time. A Volvel is merely a calculating device for converting moon time to solar time, and does not itself include either gnomon, style, or cast a shadow upon the dial plate on which the shadow is cast. Moon dials are somewhat rarer, but operate on the same principle. Two notable composers of Augsburg, Christopher Scheisler and Jonathan Martin, made sundials out of brass in which the dial plate itself contains several movable silver rings, or dials which enable the direct conversion of moon time to solar time, i.e. a moon dial. And if it says see figure 1, if you look on the little icon in the corner, that's that thing with the little knobs on the top that you can rotate within the plate. I mean, that the one in the corner looks like a sundial, and it is in effect a sundial, bar this Volvel, which is this rotatable disc within it. We'll get into why this is necessary. So if I can have the next slide, please, John. Slide
Check.
4. Okay, so one can also align the sundial in the same manner. When the moon is shining brightly, a shadow will be cast on the dial plates. The time corresponding to the shadow, the local moon time, will of course not be the same as the local solar time, except at the new and full moon. The lunar month is approximately 29.5 solar days, which means the moon takes 29.5 days to return to the same position in the sky with respect to the sun. The consequence of this is that the moon appears at the same position in the sky about 49 minutes later each evening. And it's this regularness of the moons that enables one to relate the moon's position in the sky to the sun's solar position, which is defined as the local solar time. Next slide, please.
Check.
We may discuss solar time and its nuances later, but remember, these are all conventions. There are two preconditions to this conversion. First, the moon must be shining brightly at night. Kind of obviously. This limits the use of the moon dial for approximately to the first to the third quarter of the moon. It is interesting to note that the whiteness of the ivory on the die-pitch dials and the use of silvered rather than brass rings on the moon dials greatly aid the observer in seeing the faint shadow cast by the moonlight. Secondly, one must know the age of the phase of the moon at the new moon. The local solar and lunar times coincide. Therefore, the moon becomes later thereafter, the moon becomes later each day by a constant factor of 49 minutes. The amount of lateness for a given date is based upon the number of days since the last new moon. One can either count off the days on a calendar or simply estimate the phase of the moons by observation. And a lot of the dials, if you look at them, have got these things to aid you in that, so that you can look at the phase of the moon and estimate where it is since the last full moon, where we have coincidement. You can see that maybe on the picture, scroll back, or I'm going to show it later, but you'll see those phases there because they're part of the information you need to translate lunar time into solar time. And that literally is what's been highlighted here. It's just that lag per day of 49 minutes. Okay, can I have the next slide, please, John? And
check.
This is just like me always, just being a bit critical of whatever you're doing. You've got to investigate how accurate it is, what it is. And there's 3 points here, and they're all very interesting because I'll give the preface first. If you're going to be telling the time by this, I think a lot of the mitigation here is already negated by the fact that you are very accurate in the things that it says you might not be accurate in. I'll read them. There are 3 main sources of error in the conversion of moon time to solar time. The first concerns the variability of the moon's lateness within a given night. The moon is about 25 minutes later with respect to the sun at sunrise than it was at the previous sunset. By assuming a constant amount of lateness for a given night, one is sure to be offset by at least 10 minutes at some point during the night. The second source of error is closely related and usually much larger in magnitude. The age of the phase of the moon is often difficult to estimate. For example, on 2 consecutive nights, the moon may appear to be nearly full. By adjusting the lunar valve by just 1 day of the proper age of the moon, one commits an error of almost an hour. Those pre-mentioned 49 minutes. The final one is the interesting one because this comes into the non-movement of the sun in terms of 15 degrees per hour, which is what's referred to as the equation of time. And I'll leave that there, but just realize that this is a margin of error that relates to the sun's erratic movement. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Okay, the third source of errors comes from the equation of time for the moon also, which, because of the relatively large eccentricity of the moon's orbit, may require a correction of up to 50 minutes. They're the 3 main critiques, but all of them are very nuanced in terms of just not what's going off, but just in terms of the accuracy and how accurate you have to be with it. It's very similar to celestial navigation. We're dealing with a device that's taking its readings from the celestials. And if we could go to maybe the final, well,
check
slide. Yeah. With that in mind, as I mentioned, celestial navigation, there's a number of words that might not necessarily trigger but resonate with people as I read this final bit, because it talks about how you use it, and a lot of them I mentioned sundials. Well, they'll be placed on the ground already as your sundial is orientated north to south, so you can all the time in the daylight. But a lot of these vowels are found in small portable, as it says on screen, ditch sundials, and it's this bit that I'd like to just focus on, how you set them up and make sure they're accurate. Okay, so when opened so that the plates are perpendicular, the string connects the 2 plates, casts a shadow on both the horizontal and vertical plates. By aligning the dial north-south, facilitated by the compass that is usually incorporated into the bottom plate, and keeping the bottom plate parallel to the ground, one can read off the solar time of the timescales found on both dials. And just go to the final slide, just to show that important point of it. But thank you very much. That hopefully demonstrates a little bit of historical use of these things and how through time we have used the moon and its shadows and their exactness in terms of the way they play out with regards to matching the sun's time, even though the moon is later in the sky, that's what we adjust for. The lateness in the sky, not the shadow that's being cast.
Love it.
Thank you.
I love that
before,
last statement. Go ahead, Nathan.
Before you go, hopefully you're going to add a few bits and bobs to this, QE, and indeed give it your own spin and summary. I want to just do what I did on my show, which is I don't understand, Adam. What does this all mean? Can you explain again in a short summary?
No, I've been particularly vague as requested by Brian. So I think if you want any explanation, it's about to come. In terms
Okay,
of
well afterwards, hold
unless
that
you've
thought.
got any technical stuff.
I haven't. I haven't.
No. Then any implication will follow with Brian.
Okay, Brian.
Oh, how did that get in there? Sorry about that, Brian. 1 second. There you go, Brian. First slide.
This would be the slides Adam made, QE, is it?
I think so. It's got a big old cartoon Earth and a moon right in the center.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. Yeah, yeah. This is just a reminder of the comparisons of what the sizes need to be. So on this one, as it shows the size of the globe Earth in comparison to the heliocentric moon. If you move on to the second one, please, QE.
Check.
Thank you. It shows the heliocentric sun in comparison to the globe Earth and the heliocentric moon, with the heliocentric moon being in front of the globe Earth there. So it shows the size comparison between the three. And the third one then, if you don't mind, QE.
Check.
Thank you. Is a close-up of this. So it shows that the sun in the heliocentric model has to be really, really big to give parallel light rays to the globe Earth. Okay. If you just move on to my first of my my diagrams, please, Kiwi.
Check.
Thank you. Never mind all the numbers and letters up here on the blue dots. That's just from GeoGebra when I was putting in these lines. Now I should have put in those lines all across the screen here, both left from the left corner to top left hand corner to the bottom right hand corner, because the heliocentric sun, as I showed in those other diagrams, is way huger in diameter than the heliocentric moon and the globe Earth, monstrously more. Right, at present it's 865,000 miles in diameter within their claim, and it has to be just like with the Eratosthenes sun. It has to be really, really big to give the parallel light rays to create the shadows that we see in reality over a curved surface. Right now, here we have the heliocentric moon, this golf ball looking thing, and 238,000 miles, which is the heliocentric distance that the moon is from the globe Earth. Right now, both the globe Earth and the moon receive parallel light rays from the sun, right, within the heliocentric sun, within their paradigm. Because the sun is so big that even where the moon is, it's still 238,000 miles away from the globe Earth. It's still receiving parallel light rays. Within this diagram here, the light rays are coming in, let's just say, from the top right-hand corner. And in this scenario, there will be a half moon, and the moon is making a 90-degree angle to the sun. So if you take that middle line, or red line from the center of the globe and go out, and you take that purple arrow, that's a 90-degree basically angle. So within that paradigm, in this scenario, there is a 90-degree angle between the globe Earth, between the sun, the heliocentric sun, and the heliocentric moon. And both, one more time, both the globe Earth and the heliocentric moon are receiving parallel light rays because of the size of the heliocentric sun. But, and this is where the whole thing falls apart for heliocentrism, and all of heliocentrism basically ends at this one point. The full moon gives us the exact same shadows as the sun. The exact same.
Come on!
So much so that if you use a sundial, right, on the night of the full moon, they say the new moon as well. That's something I'll have to look into a bit more. But that would debunk him even more. But we just work on the full moon. If you use a sundial on the night of the full moon, you won't have to do any changes or conversions of time. That is only because of the phases of the moon and because of the lateness of the moon in comparison to the sun. But the full moon is always in line with solar time, and the shadows match exactly. And that's why the sundial works with the full moon perfectly. That is completely and absolutely impossible to happen if the sun is very, very big and gives us parallel light rays to explain shadows over a globe Earth. Because those exact same shadows are created by a moon that's only 1/4 the size of the globe Earth and is way closer, that making the whole model impossible. Because you have to remember, the whole model started here. It all starts with a claim of Eratosthenes. And they try and move away from the elevation angle that Eratosthenes had to use and want to talk about shadows. They never talk about the moon. They talk about Eratosthenes pre-assuming that the sun was really big, right? And that because of that, they have parallel light rays to explain the shadows we see in reality on a globe Earth. But if the moon gives us the exact same shadows, the full moon gives us the exact same shadows as the sun does, and it does, that means the globe Earth heliocentric model and all claims about it and concerning it are and have to be totally false. I'm done with that slide.
Boom!
Boom!
Someone timestamp it. So one
I have
minute.
two more slides. Two more slides.
We got two
Oh, you
more
got two more
slides, Nathan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so if you just go on to my next one, a
Check.
second, QE.
Check.
Thank you. So this is reality, and this is absolute reality. This is not me just stating it. This is reality, as is proven by the sundial with the full moon. This is daytime in Cyan and Alexandria. We have a sun giving us shining into the well in Cyan and giving us an angle in Alexandria as a horizontal plane, flat out with divergent rays. If you move to nighttime, please. The next to last slide.
Check.
And let me know. Thank you. This is nighttime in Cyan and Alexandria. On a full moon, exactly the same as daytime with the sun. No difference. Absolutely ending all claims of a heliocentric model and a globe Earth, because it all starts there and it all ends right there. Thank you.
Boom!
All right, I will ask Adam though now. I didn't realise that it was already in order, worked out with slides and everything. I'm sorry, guys. I've been messing it all up for you. Nevertheless, Adam, I would like it before QE gives the overall summary for you to now, into your dulcet tones again, even if you're repeating yourself, with the headline. I'm going to put it in the live stream chat now for someone to timestamp it in the comments after the fact, which is at 1 hour 36 minutes, for Brian to actually go through his concise summary of the ending to all of the information over the last 40 minutes. But can you just basically almost like you're repeating yourself, but it will just be more concise naturally anyway. So Adam, I don't understand, Adam. What does this all mean? I'm not following along.
What are the implications?
What are the implications of this then?
Okay, so hopefully in my description there, we pointed out that the way in which the device works, the excuse me, the scale is to compensate not for any shadow measurement, other than the fact that because we're now using the moon as the luminary, the exact same shadow it casts in the same way, having made sure we align it parallel to the surface, is readable. And the point of consideration we have to take into account is that the moon lags by 49 minutes every day in its passages. So the only time this device works in terms of not having to spin your Volvo, which is the thing that you just move, basically, you move it by 49 minutes every single day of degree, celestial navigation, every single day. to keep it in check. Okay. And as I outlined in some of the things, there are other nuances to that, but to make it more accurate. But fundamentally, that's all you have to do. I think there's a in the document it says even this is as simple to use, a child can use it, and that's the point. And there's a picture on screen, where we've got Eratosthenes, and that's the point that I'd like to point now. This moon dial, it could be a bloke in Cyan, a bloke in Alexandria, and it could be the full moon. And both of them can tell the time just from the shadows. Okay, that's, to me, destroys the whole paradigm. Brian's outlined why. Okay, because the three premises, okay, are curved larger than the Earth and further away, as Eratosthenes uses to prove the ball. As Neil deGrasse lays out for us, it works just as well if it's flat and smaller and close. But they're the two choices. You can't have some hybrid of the two. Yet we have the moon, and this is where it's not a flat Earth claim in any way, shape, or form. This is us analysing the heliocentric model, and the fundamentals of this claim being that it's larger than the surface it's dealing with, much larger and much further away, with a curved surface, and as the moon shows in their model, it does not fit those parameters. And the only reason those parameters are there and have to be like that is that third one, the nature of the surface, the curved or flat. And that's why it has to be so far away and so big, because it's the only way in which you can use the behavior of a divergent light, which, as Brian started with, is accepted by everybody. All light is divergent. The only way you can crowbar a curved surface in is to make this thing this big and this far away. And yet we have the moon that in Alexandria and Cyan means you can tell the time by the light of the moon. I'm done.
Epic. All right. I want to get 100 people listening to QE as he summarizes this. There's 94 people currently watching, and I've been pestering all through the last 40 minutes for people to share the show, because I want this to go out far and wide to all of the ballers, all of the Discord chats, everywhere. You name it. Facebook, Bebo, Blogspot, all of them. MySpace. Share it. I want everybody to know that there's a new globe debunking. This is how it's done. We've hopefully paid attention to all of the information that's come preceding Brian's concise summary about 5 minutes ago. Adam's now summarised it, so hopefully you've heard it a couple of times. Now QE's going to. Again, hopefully someone will timestamp this in the video after the fact. So yeah, timestamp it, share it. Make sure everybody knows this is one of those moments. You can be the person to rub it in the baller's face. Ha ha ha, you nonsense son. Go ahead, QE.
Yeah, listen, the last two slides that Brian had is what convinced me. But that even before the slides, as soon as I got the concept, so as soon as that question was answered with the full moon and the same time, right, on the sundial, that was it for me. So it's these two slides. The first slide, daytime in Cyan and Alexandria. Well, this is what you get and the angles that you get, right? But in this slide, this sun is really biggy and really far away. Everyone get that? But guess what? You get the same angles with the moon closey. That's it for me. That's all it took. I mean, I heard a lot of ancillary questions. I even had some of those ancillary questions like, listen, we got to show the moon shadows initially. You can remember me saying that. And then when, I don't know whether it was Adam or whether it was Brian, summarized these two slides. That's all it took for me, because this is well done. It's over right here, folks. That's it.
There's a bit on that, John. I just want to.
Just want to say one thing. Massive shout out to everybody who shared the show. 102 people watching right at QE's summary. I'm absolutely elated. You are all ace. Everybody watching is ace. Smash that share button. Let's get to 150.
Let's go there. If you just call up the pretty pictures we did of the sun, moon, and Earth in the heliocentric model.
The pretty pictures. Which one's that?
The graphics ones, rather than just the big circles that Brian did. Yeah. The point I want. This is their model, okay, and it's this contradiction in the sizes that's important. Whether it's the circles or pretty pictures, it doesn't matter. But it's kind of the key point. The illuminating object has to be either bigger than the thing it's lighting up and very far away, or smaller and close. Yeah, so it destroys them. But the light rays are parallel, so they're coming in exactly the same. And it's this triple nuance that I want people to get, that proves it can only be, irrespective of Neil deGrasse Tyson's ticks. Look at these scales. Look at the size of the moon. How is it going to diverge off of that object? How is it going to diverge off of the sun? And Brian's rays showed it. Those thick rays coming in. Look at the size of that. You know that. And this is the final point. Oh, nice jacket potato. The moon is smaller, and it's creating the same as the sun.
Yeah.
So it really does destroy them in their heliocentric way. Beautiful stuff, Brian. I just want to give you a shout out, mate. And pleasure of being in the after show.
Brian,
stop. Before we start scratching each other on the back, Brian, I still don't understand it. Explain it to me again.
I will, Nathan. Yeah, I get it. I'll explain it very simply. The shadows we see in reality, the only way to explain them on a globe, Earth, is to have the sun be very big very big to give us parallel light rays. So, never mind the distance, they have to make it far away because they make it big. If they didn't, the distance is only in accordance with the size they must make it. So, for us to have parallel light rays to match the shadows we see in reality to work on a globe, because they had to explain how the shadows would work on a globe Earth, because a close and small sun would give us those shadows because it would have divergent light. But a big sun would give us parallel light because it's so big, the light wouldn't have diverged yet. So consequently, to explain the shadows, they had to claim that the sun, the heliocentric sun, was very big, and then because of its size, they had to match the angular size we see in the sky and make it far away. But the very big is the important part. So that's from that point, they claimed then, they built on that, and they started stating that the sun was a star, and all the other lights in the sky were all suns, and they're really, really big, and we get parallel light from them as well as the heliocentric sun. And it's a lot of nonsense, right? But the main point is that the sun has to be really big within their model to explain the shadows you see and I see and everyone sees in reality. But the problem is the full moon, which is only 1/4 the size of their globe and way closer, gives us the exact same shadows, debunking every claim they ever made about the Earth being a globe, about light being parallel, coming in parallel from the sun or anywhere else, about the sun being really big and at a distance away, about the stars being really big and being whatever they claim they are. There is all of heliocentrism ends with this one fact that the full moon gives us the exact same shadows as the sun, absolutely debunking all claims of the Earth being a globe and all heliocentrism after that. Because for them to claim the Earth was a globe, they had to claim that the light was coming in parallel, and the only way to claim that was to claim that the sun was really, really big. But if the moon is not really, really big in their model, and it's not, it's very small and close, so they don't have a diameter bigger than globe Earth, at a size that will give us parallel light rays. That means, and we still get the exact same shadows from the full moon. That means all of their claims were wrong from the very start, starting with Eratosthenes. It all ended with Eratosthenes when they started trying to claim things about the sun being really big. So they can only explain the shadows with a really big sun that we see in reality with a really big sun, but they can't explain the full moon shadows in any way, shape, or form on their model, because the moon has to be small and close in their model. They even claim to fly there 6 times or whatever. So it can't be.
Perfect. QE, at the end of the Flat Earth debate a couple of days ago, there was a moment in time where you went, right, that's where I put my stamp of approval on it. Let's run with this. This is epic. What was that point precisely?
I told you. As soon as they said, I don't know who it was, because I went on and on. I'm thinking about this on the fly, and I heard his argument. It made sense. However, I needed that kicker, right? One simple, that's all I look for, is that simple kick in the nuts. And the moment somebody brought up the full moon and how the full moon's light, because as soon as you do that, as soon as you bring up the full moon's light, along with the moon dial, and it's the same angle, regardless of the time, it doesn't matter, because it's irrelevant to the topic, right? You could chase that down. You're going to get train wrecked. However, that same angle from that full moon on that moon dial, that was if it's all over, because there's no way else to explain it. You can't have a faraway sun, a very large faraway sun, giving the same angles as a close moon. You can't do it. Within their paradigm, it implodes. So it hit me like a pile of bricks. I said, "Oh yeah, baby, I love it for its simplicity." You know how I am. I love the simple things, and this is one of those simple things. I put it as a number 3 GlobeKiller for good reason. Good.
Perfect. Yeah, we're going to refine this. This is going to get turned into a housekeeping question. You're going to hear this a lot, but it's nice to be on the cutting edge, and this is that moment. And it's there's certain things that you know are going to be that moment, like the black swan. There's certain things that come from a fog, a haze, and perfectly become clarified before the audience over a period of time, like the elevation angle argument. That was refined over a very long period of time, and we were, as panel members, privy to hearing it become refined and refining it ourselves. In this instance, it's not like this has come out of nowhere. It's taken smart people, not me, to sort of put their heads together and go, how does this pad out? And then earlier, you heard Adam discussing how difficult it was to find this information. Why would that be? Well, because it's absolutely destructive to their claim and scale when it comes to heliocentrism. It annihilates it. Why would it be easy to find? Like anything juicy, it's buried and tasty when you find it and dig it up. That's what we're doing. And for you in the audience, for the 100-odd people that were listening to QE Summary, go forth, shove it in their faces, poke the bear. You know, people who moan especially are like, oh, it's the same thing day in, day out. Yeah, it gets very repetitive. I agree. So it's time to rejoice when there's something new on the block, and shove it under a few globe head noses. How did you know? Your scale is absolutely shot to all hell. Yeah, the moon, you can use it. Once it's full, it gives you the same time. What do you mean far away for your shadows? Nah, total nonsense. It works with the moon too. And your scales are made up nonsense of having a 93 million mile away sun for its parallel lights to work. Works with the moon. Idiots with your heliocentric beliefs in these balls at varying distances that you've scaled up with an R that you imposed on Venus. Yeah, it's all nonsense, and it all fails on its ass when you get a moon dial out. So rub it in their faces. Share this and tell them. Go to the timestamps. Go and have a listen for yourself. You know, what have you got, Fundy? Are you going to tell us how the moon does it the exact same way the sun does when it's supposed to be a massive distance away in your stupid little model? It's been annihilated by a moon dial. Well done, lads. You all need to pat yourselves on the back. It's not often I blow smoke up other people's asses. I normally ask for it to be blown up mine. or hint that I don't like it when it comes and pray or modest. But in this instance, proper props, kudos. And I hope you all leave a comment to say exactly that and echo my sentiment, because I am humbled by the genius of my panel on flat earth debate and the ballbusters as we are now. The guys that I'm amongst great men who can do this. And I am privileged to listen to it happen and unfold, and then get to be part of it, and like it's to do with me somehow. It isn't. Other than me bigging it up right now, I'm just an MC for this stuff. The record's playing, and I'm shouting out how wicked it is. I hope in the audience you can hear my delight when I do so. This is the best record we've played all year. So play it out. This is the Christmas special. Play it on the radio, share the show, smash it everywhere. Because they all need to know, the ballers that are the idiots in the pond that we're in now. And someone was calling it in the chat going, isn't this a lot of begging the question? Yeah. Just like the Black Swan. We'll turn it into a modus tollens. It'll come a housekeeping question. But yeah, it's all based on their nonsense assertions of scale in the heliocentric model. How it just simply doesn't work in reality. That's all we're doing. Showing how it doesn't work. Does it give us any further clues about what the moon is? Unfortunately not. It's useful. Did anybody else know about Moon Dial? I remember watching Moonchild when I was a kid, about 8 years old, on the BBC with not John Craven, Philip Schofield. Some little short series about a kid with birthmarks that would go out in the moon and stand by a moon dial. But that's about the last thing I ever heard about them. From being a kid till now. Turns out they're a heliocentric globe Earth debunking. Who knew? Well, you do now. Nice to be the first one to know. So we may have hinted at it, and you may have picked up on what we're laying down in the couple of flat Earth debates that have been in the last few days. But you've got to be a pretty sharp cookie to actually pick this stuff up, based on the sort of murmurings of conversation that have been formed from the sidelines in a show that happens to be recorded at that moment. Now it's been laid out, and the guys have done a fantastic job. I'm sure you'll all agree. If you were, paying attention for the 40-minute build-up, they've dotted every like always. They've dotted every I. They've crossed every T. They've presented it from 2015 arguments that you need to be familiarized with in order to get your head around what's coming, to what's coming and how it's going to be coming and what needs to be asserted in the model in order to make their assertions. Then the distances and scales have been laid out, and the implications have been laid on nice and thick by Brian right at the end, and then summarized 3 or 4 times by the guys with me playing dumb. So hopefully it's been laid out nice and concisely right at the end there, with all of the information that you could ever possibly need preceding it in this show for the 40 minutes from, the hour mark. So yeah, like I say, keep sharing this show. Hopefully you'll get up to some good numbers. It's had 100 people watching, as I say, when it got to the QE summary, which I was elated with. Thank you, God, for getting everyone to smash the share button right at the right moment, because it got over 100 people listening to that live. And that's important. I think it's a milestone. Like all of the housekeeping questions, like all of the flat Earth proofs, in terms of elevation angle measurements, in terms of globe Earth debunkings that have come before, Black Swan. This is going to get a name. Bad Moon I like. I don't know about everyone else on the panel. I like the name. I think it's good. I think it should stick. But the Bad Moon. That's what this is.
It's not Bad Moon. It's Bad Moon Shadow.
Right. And I think that's the point where we could all maybe get a drink and play. Well, I don't know what could fill for 3 minutes whilst I went and get a drunk.
I'll fill for 3 minutes.
I think we should round out the show.
No, hold on a second.
Just end the show.
Hold on a second.
High note.
Yep.
Relax. Hold on a second. Shout out, holy shnikey, Skeptic 936 with a massive super chat. I'm eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a month now. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Honey! Thanks, guys. Go ahead.
Skeptic is ace.
Yeah, he is. Thank you. Merry Christmas, guys.
It's a good Christmas show. This is we won't squeeze another one in before Christmas. This is the Christmas show essentially. So awesome that this should be the thing that rounds out 2022. It's going to be a good year. I can feel it in my bones. 2023 is just around the corner, and to have elevation angle measurements coming to fruition right at the beginning of the year, popping off a Black Swan year prior, and then rounding out on a globe debunking with Bad Moon Shadow. It's just awesome. It's a fun time to be a flat earther.
Can I just throw a few things into the audience there? Just a couple of bits, because I have a little bit of experience with the ballers on this topic because I brought out a video about this a week or maybe a week and a half ago. Two things, because I've dealt with this shadows issue with them before. Because the ballers, just for the audience, they don't know their own claims. The majority of what QE calls the rank and file ballers out there don't know their own heliocentric model. Most flat earthers know it better than they know it. And I know for certain that I know it, their model, better than probably 99% of them. What they will start trying to show you is photographs of parallel shadows, like a group of poles along a road, like electricity poles or something giving parallel shadows or some nonsense like that. That means they don't understand their own claim, right? The shadows can be parallel, they can be divergent. That's not the point. The point is that for them shadows to be explained on a globe Earth, the sun needed to be really big, right? And for light to come in, for them to claim that light is coming in parallel, it's that it is diverging from the sun, but it hasn't diverged yet when it reached the globe Earth, so it's still parallel. That's what they needed to claim. But those exact same shadows are being given to us by the full moon, completely destroying their claim, their original claim of it being a globe, and everything that came after that, because it all starts with their whole story, whether you believe it or not, all starts with Eratosthenes. That's where it really starts, right? And they moved away from the elevation angle point and went on to shadows, right? And that's what they did. It was a switcheroo, right? So if they baller show you photographs of parallel shadows, that's complete and utter nonsense. It means they don't understand their own claim. Parallel shadows can happen with divergent light, just like divergent shadows can happen with parallel light. It's total and utter nonsense. So that is straight away, somebody is either using a red herring or somebody who doesn't understand their own model. The second thing is this. They will try and say to you, come up with some calculations and say, there's no difference. You can't tell any difference between the moon and the sun rays. So there's no way of determining the difference. When they start coming at you with anything that's making the moonlight and the sunlight similar, that is a complete debunk of their model. It can't be similar. The whole point is they're claiming that sunlight is parallel, reaches the globe Earth parallel, and moonlight doesn't reach the globe Earth parallel. That's the whole point. And so consequently, the full moon shadows can't even be similar to the sun shadows on our model, because they needed to claim certain things about the size of the sun to give an explanation of the shadows we see in reality in the daytime, ignoring the shadows we see in the nighttime made by the full moon. So don't get fooled by those two things. If they're stating that the light is the same from both or can't be differentiated between you can't differentiate between the two, that is an admittance that they don't have a claim. They can't claim parallel light rays from a sun then, because they've just admitted they can't tell the difference between the light rays from the sun or the moon. Don't get fooled by parallel shadow photos or videos, and don't get fooled by claims that the moon and sunlight, there's hardly any difference, and they just throw some maths at you with that, but maths that they can't back up with measurement. So it's all nonsense. So those 2 points, don't get fooled by it.
This is also, again, on a note of sharing the show, the point where other arguments have been refined and then put out there in a concise manner, this will get polished up a little bit in terms of how it gets disseminated. But if you're one of the people in the audience that goes, no, I get that, just bear in mind that there's going to be people who don't. But if you do, you can be that person that shoves it in a baller's face and laughs at them and tells them that they can't debunk it. And that will typically be the point that they'll be the ones that want to get right in the action, because they feed off us. We're their existence for living. So a new claimed, they'll see it as claimed to be globe debunking, it's just the thing that they want. The anti-flat earthers, that is, get their teeth sucked into, because their reactions is what they do. That they're living off us, parasitically speaking. And this is what they live for. So you might be that person that, shoves it under Simon Dan or Soundly or whoever's nose and says, you idiots, parallel light coming from the sun. No, here you go with the moon doing it exactly the same with the moon dial. Full moon, it does exactly the same thing. No corrections are needed. According to your stupid model, it's supposed to be close. or however you decide to paraphrase what we've explained today, not me, the great people I'm around, have explained to you today, you might be the person that disseminates that to the anti-flat earther and gets the reaction. And some people are into that. So, scramble, get out there, poke the bear with this. It's nice to see those reactions coming in as a result of you guys in the audience. And there's 108 people watching right now going, all right, I'm quick off the mark. I've immediately picked up what's been put down at Ballbusters. And I want to be the one poking this in some idiot baller's face because they're not going to know about it. You will be that surprise. You will be the hand at Mona Lisa's skirt in this regard if you can get in there early. So be that person and go and tell them about the bad moon shadow. Because why not? Because if they hear that, just that phrase, just in quotes, literally, bad moon shadow in quotes, you put that under a baller's nose. Number one, that might actually be the smartest way to do it, not tell them what it is, because they'll feel dumb straight away because they don't know what it is. But if there's a few people in there, whoever it is that you're, commenting on, going, idiots, globe's been debunked by the bad moon shadow, just full stop. Because
You're
they're
not
going to go,
doing it
what
right.
the hell's that?
You're not doing it right. It's bad moon shadow. Now,
moon shadow.
Yeah, there you go. That's close. Well, listen, I got a different slant on what you just said about people gathering this argument and just jacking these baltards yard. There's another little slant. Everyone knows all the arguments from the baltards are false. They're lies, right? Now, in a lie, there are built-in, they're sitting watermelon hanging size curveballs. It's for you to find them. Now, Brian has given you example. It's exactly what he did. He took a closer look. Everyone knows we all tore Eratosthenes apart many years ago. However, I want to say the size, I don't want to say that. The importance of this Eratosthenes, like spoken of by Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and when everyone come out here initially, you all got blasted with this argument, right? But Brian took a look past all the begging the question fallacies and everything that we destroyed in the past, but he took one very important aspect that was a paradox. He clearly seen the paradox, right? And he worked with it. This should motivate others. Take a look at the claims that these baltards are giving you. You know it's a lie. You know it's factually incorrect. Find that peccadillo. There's usually more than one, but that's the fun of it. That's what he did. He solved the puzzle. He solved the puzzle. It's a really big piece with this parallel sun rays. Because I think these tentacles reach much further than this. But that's all I had to say.
Do.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
No, I want to echo that sentiment.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. Some of the biggest globe Earth claims, and by that, I mean things they fire at flat earthers to justify or prove, typically run at least parallel with a big claim that they're actually making that they don't necessarily want to be defending because it's undefendable. Now, what do I mean by that? Like Huey was just describing, go forth knowing that the Earth is flat, the space is fake. And with that absolute dogged assurance of fact, based on how the Earth's measured and what we're disseminating in regards to the nonsensical heliocentric model and how it doesn't work, you can look at aspects of that claim and go, why are we being asked about a boat falling over the edge of a pizza pie? Why would that be the case? Or why is it the case that they're firing at us a claim that boats go over the horizon to show that that's Earth curve? And number one, those two things are intrinsically linked at the hip. There's a direct correlation because they're linked. They want us to defend our nonsense that we don't claim because they've got a claim of a boat falling over an edge. And this instance, Brian's gone, well, we know Earth's flat. We know it's not a sphere. We know that that can't possibly be true. But what are they firing at us? Why are they even giving this claim? And then burying moon dials, right? Because Earth's flat. They've got to lie about lots of things. The primary claims that they make, in this case, Eratosthenes and his parallel light coming from the sun, which is very far away, why do they need to make a claim about it? You've got to look a little bit closer like Brian has, and you see the gaping craters. They're not little cracks. They're gaping flaws. It just takes someone to get in and have a closer look, which is what Brian's done. It deserves. That's why I'm giving so much props on this show to the people around me. Like QE's trying to do. He's doing a good job too. He's saying, look, have a closer look yourself. Not just go out there and smash this into their faces because Brian's done such a good job. Think about every aspect of heliocentric claims that you've ever had put to you. Stand back from them, knowing that the Earth is flat. Well, I know that's wrong principally, just because I know it's wrong and I know Earth's flat. Why would they be wanting to claim it in the first place? What aspect is it of the world that is needing to have a primary claim made by the Globers? Let's have a little look. Let's see what we can see. How deep does this bullshit hole go? And you'll find pretty deep, pretty quickly. And you might be the person to come up with some accounts like this, like Brian has, and refined with Adam and QE and everyone else on the panel, especially me. I've worked very hard, I'll be honest. The sleepless nights that I've gone through, will pale into comparison to what you see when you do something similar to this. Copyright Nathan Oakley, 1980.
Bad Moon Shadow! Bad Moon Shadow! That got Brian interrupting. Brian, stop interrupting the Bad Moon Shadow, man.
Sorry.
And shout out to Adam, because Adam definitely had a piece of this, right? This is teamwork, folks. And going back on what was talked about earlier with finding those little peccadillos, you don't have to do it yourself. Treat it like a game. Get your buddies together. Take each claim. You don't have to do it. Just for shits and giggles, take their claims, and there's a peccadillo in each of their claims. Go find it. Don't do it yourself. Share it with others. Yes.
Shout out to James Mays. Says good show, guys. Sends you $20. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, James.
Thanks, James. Merry Christmas, sir.
That's a good show. I've alluded to that last point in the past. It's part of the bonus, and Tony has kind of come back in, and he felt the need to comment on it. However intense you hear the debate normally with the Flat Earth crew, it's generally arguing on the point. There's nothing personal in it, and it's a real, like I said, privilege to be able to have like minds to argue with on these points. And it takes, after Nathan kindly hangs up, it takes many hours afterwards beating these things out, and that's the interrupting point. But just looking back on what you were saying, Nathan, there is a lot of stuff that comes out of this. You look into these things, and what Brian's done is open up another door here. You might have, and this is the fun, because once you start pairing, you see other things, and we've been discussing time for ages, and 15 degrees per hour, and as I got into this, you've got the equation of time, and I think there's a lot of stuff to look into there. But as people look into it, go and read these things, and you will see the discrepancies in their model, and that's what Brian's done. What in a long-winded way is in researching Brian's thing. There's a few more things that have come out of it in a way, yeah. So if we share those things, and we're not afraid to be ridiculed by just making the proposition, and it wasn't ridiculed, it was downright attack Brian goes through. If you listen to the stuff, it's not an intellectual attack on the premise, and if we can keep things like that, we progress quite well, I think. But yeah, have a little look at the equation of time.
Can I say something here?
Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
Brian is freaking ace. So are you, Adam.
Thank you, Neil. Very appreciate that. Very much so.
Neil, it reminds me of an analogy that was given to me by Martin Knight. He's Wakey. He goes by on YouTube anymore, but he's got a website, so wakey.com I think it is. But anyway, Martin Knight was describing the fragility of the heliocentric model when you have a closer look, like we're describing now. He described it as a papier-mâché globe. He said from a distance, because it's been beautifully painted, it looks really solid. That's our world right there. As you get closer, you start to realize that it's, as I said, papier-mâché. You've only got to put your finger close to it and tap it and realize that you're not tapping it. Your finger goes straight through because it's just paper. And then you get even closer and have a little look at the hole that you've created just by tapping on it. You see that there's an empty void inside. There's nothing else. And if you look even closer, what do you know? There's someone on the other side having a look through too. That's us looking back at you. So that was, I always felt, a good analogy for the fragility and the cavernous cracks that I described earlier. This papier-mâché ball, you don't have to look that close. You've really got to have a little tap. It'll tear real easy. You'll see how fragile it is.
What I would like to say to the audience, unless QE wants to say something, I'll hold off until
No, I'm good.
finished.
No, this show's not ending just yet. We're gonna waller in this shit.
Okay, I just want to go, because this is a point that I made with Adam and QE, and it was agreed upon. I already see from a couple of comments that are in the live feed. One guy said, Mark G said, the semi-diameter of the moon, the corrections need to be made for the semi-diameter of the moon and the sun, or something like that. Now, that is a nothing response. That is, I don't understand what's going on here, or I'm avoiding it, or this is a nothing response that I'm trying to use to get people to think that I have a response. That is not a response. The next one was this person called Moxie, who was saying, this would be great, except for it's all debunked by the Apollo moon missions. That's another nothing response, as it's begging the question, looking straight past what the whole point of the presentation was. But it doesn't matter what these people, these faceless people that we deal with, it doesn't matter what they say. This is to the audience.
No, it's good. No, it's good.
Hang on.
So what Brian's saying is, there's already responses coming, right? The people who are from the anti-flat earth side that are already here are already throwing out their nothing burger, non sequitur responses to make it seem like, oh, this is nothing. They're already doing it, right? Go poke. Sorry, Brian, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, that is it, and that is it. But the main point of this, and this is for anyone I don't care if you like me or dislike me, if we're friends or not friends. If you're in the flat out, let's call it community, right, across the world, the people who cannot deny this, because the average rank and file people can deny this, they can give you nothing burgers, as Nathan just described it, and ignore it and try and walk away from it, just like they try to shout refraction at the Black Swan. This nonsense with debunking their own claims. But I'm feeding back on someone there. But
sorry, that'd be me. Sorry.
So yeah, sorry, Jen. Just go on mute for a minute. Thank you. Who can't ignore this, right? Who can't ignore this, right? Is not the rank and file people, the people we deal with, the faceless people, or even the people who aren't faceless, like Ruhif. The people who can't ignore this are the Brian Coxes, the Neil deGrasse Tysons, the Sabine Hostelfelders. Those people can't ignore this. And this is for them. This is something they can't pretend doesn't exist. Because they have even made videos on it. One of them was played earlier by Quantum Eraser. They can't ignore this. This is for top brass globe. That's what this is for. So ignore what these other people say to you, because they are not the spokespeople of the heliocentric model. Thank you.
Very good. Actually, it's a very good. We'll go to Jin. We'll go to you in a second, Jin. Obviously, you've got something to say because you're coming off mute. If you can pop yourself on mute for a second, I'm just going to round out one more thing, and then I will bring you back in. Yes, we have been again discussing on Flat Earth Debate the notion of crawling out of the crappy, scummy pond with anti-flat earthers, and I've fallen into my own bad habits by suggesting that we should be sharing this and poking the Soundlies and the Simon. No. I scratch that. Retract every word I said. Brian's far superior intelligence is correct in this regard. No, this isn't for them. They'll react anyway. They already are, right? This needs to be shared with the right people. The people who actually purvey the correct globe rhetoric, not the anti-flat earth rhetoric, because their nonsense will come. Nothing burgers is what it'll be deemed when it's non sequitur, as it has been so far. Immediately, I might add. Already poked. But people like on Brian's list are far, far better people to be sharing this with. You know, this cuts to their core when it comes to astrophysicists. The heliocentric priests need to know. No, your model's wrong. Is how. Bad moon shadow.
Bad moon shadow. The great part about it is it's a second grade buster, right? Second graders can understand this in less than 45 seconds. That's why I love it. Thank you. I'll have another.
Yeah, sorry for cutting in on you. Yeah, I agree. Actually, little young kids could understand this faster than most of the globe side we deal with, because they're so caught up in complexity and nonsense that they'll have a harder time addressing it than the younger kids. Young kids that go, yeah, that doesn't work. That's the end of that. On to the next thing. Do you know what I mean? No bother. And I just want to say, Nathan, you are equally as smart as me. You just use it in a different way. Because I hear you doing ingenious things on the show all the time. And I go, I wouldn't have thought of that. So we just use it in different ways. You're not any lesser intellectually than me, and I'm certainly not any more intellectually than you. All right,
I'm not suggesting it. We're a great team. We're a great team. You know, I know where my strengths and weaknesses lie as well. And you know, I'm privileged to have the smart people around me that I do. I'm not demeaning my own fantastic nature. Anyway, Jin.
Well, Neil was rumpusing you. Neil was rumpus. Get Neil the rumpus after Jen.
I'm sorry. Good, Jen.
Put yourself on mute, Jin. He's talking into his mute now. Jin. The hellfire.
Go ahead, Neil.
I was just going to say.
Oh, God. I'm glad it's
profound, Neil. Profound and timed so beautifully.
I like that his comments are so short when he's roboting because he tends to stop quick.
I'm roboting.
Shout out to Theo Megawerty. Says, remember, altitude equals itch necessarily zinger. Okay, thank you, Theo. Did I read that right? Hopefully so.
So I was roboting?
I'd suggest you cover this at least 10 more times. We'll get through to Jin, though. Jin, you there? You wanted to add something?
I wanted to congratulate this momentous moment that Brian Tosthenes, the original Samuel Rowbotham, the real Sir Isaac Newton, the Einstein killer. Congratulations, Brian. Well done. Okay, son.
Brian Tosthenes.
That was a good one, Brian Tosthenes.
I'm going to be using it.
Outstanding. Yeah, I like it, Brian. That's going to stick, Brian.
Brian Tosthenes.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. The worst thing is that I actually had this idea a long time back. I have a load of other things like this. I just never get around to doing them. I'm always thinking of, I'll do it next week. Eventually, I suppose it happens when it's supposed to happen, I suppose. Thank you.
My favourite bit of the show was the point where, you know, I've been gelling up the chat, telling them that it's the big reveal and it's coming. You know, we're building it up. It's not that concise, so you've got all the information, but we're getting there. And then we get there, and it's like, yeah, you've all got it now. And the chat's like, yeah, I get it. You know, the build up was worthwhile. Then a couple of minutes later, Brian's like, oh, and by the way, I covered this 2 weeks ago on my show.
Yeah, because I made a video about it. I just wanted to see what would happen with it. And yeah, I did. And I got anyone can read the chat on my video. It's just like a lot of nothing. It does nothing. It's just like a lot of red herring arguments about other things. How does this work on your model? This kind of stuff. Anything but address this. You know, that kind of.
It's just perfectly in tune with the stereotype of Brian, or whatever it is, archetype. I don't know what the word is. There's a word for an individual. But anyway, the typical Brian behavior is we'll come to something, someone will rejoice in the unique nature of their brand new discovery, and then Brian will be there to say, actually, I covered this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I have a bit of a bad habit of doing that. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's part of the fun. I don't think we should jabber on indefinitely. I do think we should round out on a high note.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Go ahead, AI. Do you have some insight into this and the simplicity of it? It's just killer.
Well, I actually only got on just recently for Nathan's butchering of that reading, so I wanted to read it in actual English. It says attitude. Attitude doesn't equal pitch necessarily. That's what it said.
I've just scrolled back. It's because it was on the iPad at some distance when I was reading it. Remember, attitude. Okay, so that's what doesn't equal. When it's equal / equal, that's doesn't equal.
Right.
Okay. My mathematics
Before you
has been
round
letting me
out.
down yet again.
That's incorrect, Nathan. It was incorrectly represented. It should be an equal sign with a slash through it, not after it. As in not equals.
But he can't do that.
Walter. It's
Well, I know.
Walter
I'm just pointing
Cronkite.
out.
No, that is technically what he's done. Because if you imagine that symbolically, the two equals either side of it is actually one, and the slash is actually a slash through it. So I would say that if I was Theo, I'd go, no, my $2 super chat was just very well spent because I drew one equal sign with a slash mark through it saying not equal. So I'm going to argue for Theo being absolutely correct. And thank you
I
for correcting
agree.
me. I didn't
My point was more respect to AI overlay for interpreting that. That's not not the same icon. It's 3. But to figure that out, I thought was cool. That's what I'm saying.
I certainly didn't, obviously. Yeah, thanks, Theo. Thanks, AI. Also, I'm pretty sure I said altitude, right? Did I say altitude as opposed to attitude?
Yes.
Yeah, I just completely ballsed it up, basically.
Well, at least it's not as bad as using this in an argument against a Glober, and they respond, "What does somebody's disposition have to do with this?"
I've heard worse than that. How did it know to be food?
Yeah, that's right. I just thought of that.
Anybody doesn't know what we're referencing, right? There was a back and forth between Brenda and Bob, the science guy, and where it was the most convoluted clusterfuck of a conversation you have ever heard. They are talking past each other so badly that answer/response question process that's going on between them makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But they're still patting each other on the back like they're having a good discussion. It's utterly insane. You've got to listen. It's got to be listened to be believed.
Did Neil Rumpus
Smarter than me.
Did Neil Rumpus that again?
Probably.
Smarter than me. That's what she said. That's what he said.
Oh, brother.
The best
Neil's
part
trying to
of
say
that,
that they were bigging each other up, blowing each other's smoke up each other's ass, telling each other how smart they were, while they're having this disconnected conversation that doesn't make any sense. And the responses to questions that aren't in anything associated with what's been replied with, like in between that, they're telling each other how smart they are, is what I think Neil's trying to get in.
the best part for me.
And it's Walter.
Sorry, Neil.
Okay.
What's that? Adam? Adam, don't be entertaining this.
It's just yeah. You couldn't script the way Neil comes in and then robots. Because you'd think he's a stooge that he does it on purpose. It's perfect, Neil. Oh, he's gone now.
We're a well-oiled machine. We're well polished, so nothing's going to break this flow.
Just before he comes back in, the part of that of QE's numpty clip of that absolutely it cracked me up, and I still laugh when I think. Sorry, I still laugh when I think of it. Is Bob says something to Brenda about it, how it's like poetry, and QE says, "Oh, well, Oscar Wilde, eat your heart out." That killed me. That did.
Would it be a big ask to hear it? Could you dig that out in a pinch? Maybe I should be the one doing that as the co-host because you're running the show. Give me a minute. It's a numpty clip, right?
Yeah, let me see if I can't dig it out on my end. Give me a second.
Just quick shout out to chat, Sleeping Warrior. Is it ending or starting? I don't know who wants to answer that for.
Oh, brother.
We're gonna round out in about 5-10 minutes, if that's what you're asking.
Well, Tony,
we're rounding down. We're simmering down. We've done the do, and a big build-up. We're all a bit excited. We've had a bit too much to drink. Now sit down and shut the fuck up.
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Adam and Quantum Eraser for all the help.
Well, Adam rumpushed you, Brian. Go ahead and say it again.
I know.
Yeah. I just want to take this opportunity before the show ends to thank Adam and Quantum Eraser for all the help. Because Adam went and almost had to pay money to get the information he got. And Quantum Eraser helped us formulate the whole thing and put on the show for us tonight. So thanks a lot, both you guys.
That's right. He almost had to pay money. It was very close. Touch and go.
14% Jewish, Nathan. 14% Jewish. So
I'd like to quickly thank NASA for Velcro, non-stick frying pans, and Tang fueling tomorrow's astronauts today.
Thank you. That's very important. Non-stick frying pans. Without them, where would we be? And without Velcro.
Yeah, the epic space research.
Hey, we got another super chat. Quick shout out to, why won't this scroll? PJ Crookshank. Absolutely fantastic show. Yeah, wasn't it? I see a bad moon horizon. It's not bad moon horizon. It's bad moon shine on. You need a little guitar riff to go with that bad moon shot. We got a guitar riff. You guys didn't listen to that? We're going to play that as we close the show out, but I did fish out Bob and Brenda. Do you want me to play that?
Oh, I nearly found it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Yes, please. Definitely.
All right. Mute. Mic discipline, please. Here we go. Beavis and Butthead, December 2019.
What errors did you make? No, I thought you were flipping brilliant.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought you did a fantastic job.
Well,
your analogy of a fist appearing out of nothing, just that was just sheer poetry. I mean, I'd like to use that someday. I want to quote you on that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bob, you think that her appeal to a fist appearing out of nothing is poetry and fantastic? Oscar Wilde, eat your heart out, eh? Bob, are you snorting LSD-laced shrooms and chasing them with Grandpa's cough medicine again?
But
And this
I
is
just
my
want to make
field, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I think that everything I said is pretty much high school, if not undergraduate level understanding of the current level of science.
So a fist appearing out of nothing is high school and or undergraduate understanding of the current level of science? I think you're overshooting a skosh. This is without a doubt a 5-alarm, full tackle, paddy wagon, horse tranquilizer, straitjacket, rubber room, emergency lobotomy for the both of you.
And you're discussing quantum physics with somebody who doesn't understand that a force has to act on a pencil for it to hit the ground.
How did it know to be food?
What? Wait, What did you, wait, huh? What? How does the pencil know to be food? Or were you referring to the force or the ground in this scenario? Because that would make all the difference in the world. I got this one. Let's try this. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? True or false? You two bozos better hope a mental health professional isn't listening in on this. I know that for a fact.
How did it know to be food?
What on earth? How did it know to be food for you too, Bob? You just went right along with the shroom-induced coma non sequitur, eh? So, we'll put it to you. Which one knew to be food, Bob? The pencil, force, or the ground? These clowns are insane, man.
Well, the easiest way to do that is the second law of thermodynamics. In order for something to go from small things to big things and organize, you have to put energy into it. Food's energy,
Well,
that's all it is.
So in order for something to go from small things to big things and to organize, you have to put energy into it, eh? Firstly, you seem to be having some issues with singular versus plural. Something is singular, Bob. Something doesn't go from something to small things unless you chop that something up. Secondly, and speaking of chopped up, so we're going to pile up 150 bananas, TP style, douse the lot with gasoline and fire it on up, because we added energy to small things, as you instructed, Bob. According to you, Bob, we'll get an organized big thing out of that. What do you think we'll get, Bob? I bet it'll be more substantive than the horse shit between your ears. I know that for a fact. And finally, the bumbling, boneheaded belly laugher capper to this part of your delusional Dunning-Kruger fiasco. You said, food's energy, that's all it is. Besides energy, Mr. Bob, food carries vitamins and minerals, which are micronutrients, and water. We extract no energy from either. You'd fail junior high intro to biology.
Anyway, Bobby, I appreciate it because you know that my basic orientation to a lot of the people in here, there are people in here with real engineering and scientific degrees, which I don't have, but I do talk a lot. So
They're smarter than I am.
I always check with people that I feel know more than I do to make sure that I'm not screwing up. And I am open to being corrected
Well, you're smarter than I am on this.
by other
The only-
people.
Oh, really? So, Mrs. Observed Phenomena, shoe. Hypothesis, it's a shoe. And measuring the time in a cubic meter depends on how quick on the draw you are with a tape measure is smarter than you, Bob. You see, what we have here, including these two knuckle draggers, are hordes of delusional clinical level Dunning-Kruger mindless wiki discovery channel parroting pretender clown muppets that best case scenario should be picking up cans along the side of the road, supervised. But they're out here posturing and pontificating on topics that would make actual 5th grade general science graduates blush. Listen, fellas, you two bozos, I'd suggest getting on your knees right now and start praying ceaselessly, giving thanks to the rocks, pond scum, whatever, for the autonomic nervous system. Because if you had to think to breathe, you'd be in big trouble. By the way, there you go.
Epic. Was there anybody on the Discord server that wanted to add something that hadn't already? Maybe Flat Arthur or Righteous?
Yeah, I'll add something quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, the highlight for me and where you guys had me was when what's his name said, he said sticks, feet, eyes, and brains. That was a good part. But yeah, that was I like the show. It was really good.
Talk about Sagan.
Don't forget Zesty Desire.
Like that zesty.
Arthur, did you want to add anything? Dank? No, looks like that's going to be the end of the show then.
Take us home, Nathan.
Speak now. Anybody else? It's your last opportunity to have any comments on this monumental equation. Neil, do you want to add the last comment?
Yes, I do, since I was roboting the whole time.
Well, then go ahead.
Number one, it's Walter Cronkite.
I knew that. I knew that. I just couldn't get it
You're
out.
being rumpus, Neil. You're being rumpus. Now look,
Number two,
Neil is
well,
very deliberate. He's got a very slow, methodical way of speaking.
What? Number two is what I was saying is Brian comes out with it, Huey comes out with it, but Nathan has a way of taking it and stealing it from everybody and making it his. And that's how you got Flat Earth debate. Well done, Nathan.
Ah, there you go. Take that, Nathan.
With that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to Adam, Quantum Eraser, and most importantly, Brian's Logic for bringing today's Bad Moon Shadow to us all. So thank you very much to them. And of course, a massive thank you to the rest of the Ballbusters panel for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you who joined and passed on your comments in the Ballbusters Discord server, or Flat Earth Science versus Pseudoscience Discord server 2.0. So, yeah, massive thank you to all of you as well. Of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, because you got it to well over 100 people watching, which is brilliant for this sort of show. And hopefully you'll share it after the fact if you're watching this not live. Just heed all of the encouragement to share this and stick it under the ballers and mainstream globe-believing priests' noses. So yeah, please share the show after the fact if you're watching this not live. But yeah, another massive thank you to all of you who did tune in live and smash the super chat for Quantum Eraser. I've been Nathan Oakley. Be sure to tune in to Flat Earth Debate on Monday, and we will see you all in the next video.
Bad moon shadow stretching across your path. Bad moon shadow stretching across your path. Every time you get some good news, ooh, there's a shadow on your back. Saw a retard baller way down in San Bernardino. Said I saw a retard baller way down in San Bernardino. He slapped 5 G's on the table, said keep me away from my tomb. No, no. Hard, got 13 months of bad luck, bound to be some pain. Don't you do no traveling, flying no machines, tombstone shot on, stretching across your path. Every time you get some good news, ooh, there's a shadow on your back. Sold the tar to luck charm, cost 8,000 more. So puts them on your pillow and puts them on your doll. I said take a long vacation, ooh, for 13 months or more. Bad moon shadow stretching across your path. Bad moon shadow stretching across your path. Every time you get some good news, ooh, there's a shadow on your back. Whew, that's a mighty fine of picking and a grinning.